Hey guys, how's it going? And happy Friday. I needed a drink. I'm thirsty, guys. Happy rainy, wet Friday night here in southeastern Michigan. After raining 21 out of 30 days and putting me really far behind in my lawn mowing and landscaping business, it dried up for a few days, but the rain's back. And I have tons of cool videos planned for you guys. A lot of them I've shot the footage. I've just been literally running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And I think a lot of you guys know how that goes. The economy right now, pretty unsettling. The workforce drastically depleted, but I'm doing the best I can, and I'm definitely looking forward to plenty more videos very, very soon. And hey, I'm hanging out with you guys right now, so that's a good thing, right? The Second Amendment, is this the last stand for it? Now, we've been talking about this stuff for a while, and just as we think things can't get worse, they just keep getting worse and worse and worse. So are we going to stand there? And are we going to keep this republic? What do we have in this country right now? Do we have a republic or a monarchy? Because Ben Franklin was asked, look it guys, the First Continental Congress, this was a beautiful thing. This was a government that was put in place by the people, that they would only be there to protect people's natural rights. Because that's the Declaration of Independence affirms. These are rights that were endowed to you by your creator. These are laws of nature. And if nature's God that the government did not give you, they absolutely did not, but the government would be instituted amongst men to protect and defend these rights. And that's a very, very beautiful thing. That's called self-governance. That's called of the people, by the people, and for the people. And when the government becomes destructive to those ends, it is the people's right and their duty to abolish it. And that is what the founding fathers did. They abolished this monarchy. So First Continental Congress, the country had just been founded, and on the steps of that building, Ben Franklin was standing there. And I've talked about this a lot, guys, and it's actually probably more relevant today than it was even last week, but it's actually been relevant for the last, 250 years almost? This is always going to be the most relevant thing there is, because this is the foundation of what makes this country different than the rest of the world. Think about that. Many, many fine people live throughout the rest of the world, but they don't have a government that was set up this way, that was acknowledging natural rights and was only put there, put there so people could prosper and so people could enjoy these rights. And we defeated a monarchy. We defeated the king. And Ben Franklin was asked by a lady right when this country was formed, what do we have, sir? Do we have a republic or do we have a monarchy? And he said, well, republic, if you can keep it. Yeah. It's a pretty powerful thing, and I'm going to remind you of that again this week, as I often do, because it's just that important. And if you don't have hope and you don't have faith and you don't have courage, then what do you have? Some of you right now might feel like you want to just kind of crawl in a hole, and I understand that, because literally tyranny is abound. It's running amok throughout the federal government, most state governments, and maybe even in your community. But we still have the American people. We still have you. And you are all very special people. And you need to remember that. And that this is only going to happen at the consent of the governed. How long will you consent? Will you consent to this former vice president, we call him? They call him many things, but I'm trying my best to keep this a very family-friendly channel. Is he acting like a monarch right now? Well, we're going to actually discuss something that's not necessarily gun-related for a few minutes, but this rent moratorium. This is kind of a really big deal right now. The Third Amendment, yeah, that's actually being evoked right now in an amicus brief to the Supreme Court. We're going to talk about that briefly, too. We're also going to talk about these lawsuits that are literally insane. Like Mexico is suing gun manufacturers in the United States for $10 billion. I did a story on that. That's insane. Now, we also have an anti-gun group suing KCI Magazine Company, an article that my friend John Crump wrote for Ammo Land. And I'm going to pull that up and discuss that at a certain point tonight, too. These are things where they're literally, guys, they're desperate. They're literally desperate, which means one of two things. And I'm going to be reading this chat, as I always do after the fact. That's if they don't take it down. That's if they don't take it down. So hopefully the team of people watching this on YouTube, Susan Wiki, if they don't take it down like they did couple streams ago, I'll definitely read all your comments. What do you guys think? Why are they so desperate right now? Is it because we're actually winning and they fear us? Because when the government fears the people, there's liberty. But when the people fear the government, there's tyranny. So do they believe that we're so afraid they're just going to completely bulldoze everything that's left? That's something some people might be thinking right now. Or are we actually winning a lot more than we might be giving ourselves credit for? And we're pushing, and we need to push over that finish line and beat them. And they're actually just so desperate right now. They're flailing. They're throwing lawsuits against the wall. They're throwing the spaghetti against the wall and just hoping one strand of it will stick. What do you guys think? And I'm actually asking you that sincerely, because I'm literally seeing desperate stuff right now that I've never even seen before. The former vice president, so-called, literally, the Supreme Court said the rent moratorium, it's over. It's unconstitutional. It would take an act of Congress. And in my opinion, and many legal scholars also share this opinion, probably not even that, probably even an act of Congress couldn't do a true rent moratorium. But he just said, nope, the Supreme Court shot it down. I'm sure it's not going to pass constitutional muster, in my opinion, Susan Wiki, I'm paraphrasing. And he said, but I don't care. I'm just going to do it anyways. And he just did. Now, this is also going on at the same time right now where there's public comment period, meaning executive fiat, that they want to reclassify what a firearm is, what a frame is, what a receiver is. In fact, I was doing a stream just a week and a half ago showing you guys parts and explaining to you these are definitely not firearms, and they're not. And the stream got nuked for doing that. But I'm going to talk about another site that I'm going to be shifting content over soon. I'm not leaving YouTube, guys, but stuff that apparently I'm not allowed to talk about on here. You're not allowed to say certain things on YouTube. And I try to be as raw as I can on here, but I'll state the obvious. You guys are intelligent people, and I wouldn't lie to you or insult your intelligence. I'm always very heavily filtered on here and very heavily self-censored. Now, apparently I don't censor myself enough because my stream got nuked, even though I was clearly following the rules. But there's a lot of stuff you can't talk about here, a lot of stuff you can't show, you can't touch. My hands are going to get tired today. I have to keep on showing the team of people from YouTube that they're fans of the channel, but they've got their marching orders to make sure this stream. So I've got nothing in my hands, YouTube. Oh, it's just a coffee cup. I'm trying to have a little fun with them. But no, they're literally suing over everything right now. I'm also going to briefly talk about the GOA's bump stock lawsuit and why that's like literally really, really important right now. That braces executive action, rulemaking through the ATF that has public and comment. That also has far-reaching ramifications. And why this bump stock lawsuit is literally so important, and why there might be a little ray of hope with that, some momentum, if you will. So I'm going to also show you a story that GOA put out about 18 states attorneys generals that have now signed on to an amicus brief arguing against their use of Chevron deference and other things. It's kind of weird because we've been talking about this stuff for a long time, haven't we? I mean, I can't even remember a stream I've done where I haven't talked about what do we have, as Ben Franklin said to that lady, do we have a republic or a monarchy, right? And literally right now, it appears to me, in my opinion, that we have a former vice president that believes he is the king and does believe we have a monarchy. And I'm going to be reading you guys' comments, but let me know what you think. Is it because we're actually winning and they're scared to death and they're just throwing everything they can at the wall? Or do they know they have us beat just so bad they're in the bulldozing stage? They're ready just to plow all of it over. I don't know. But we need to take a stand for the Second Amendment, because all of the amendments, look, these don't give us our rights. These are prohibitions on government, telling government that they cannot pass any law that would be abridging of our speech or our religion or to assemble or of the press. And the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. In the Third Amendment, that in times of peace, the government can't force you to quarter a soldier. And that's actually relevant right now to something that's going on. They're all very, very important states' rights. Okay, the 10th Amendment, the 9th Amendment, which is the non-enumerated rights, which means just because we listed these few things here that were the most important, there's many, many other rights that you always have. And you will always have them, but that the government is supposed to uphold and protect, because that's what the Declaration of Independence, that's how it set the country up. And then when they wrote the Constitution, they quickly added the Bill of Rights. Constitution was around 1788. By 1791, they're like, you know what? We need to write this stuff down because this is very, very important. We need to prohibit the government. Basically, the first 10 amendments are a really fancy way to say, don't tread on me. Don't tread on we the people. Now, they're all important. I'm going to say that one more time. But the Second Amendment just might be the most important, because I believe it's there, not if or when they decide to trample over all the rest. And there's many, many instances right now where, in my opinion, probably yours too, that they're trying to trample over our Bill of Rights, our Constitution. And when we talk about tyranny, tyrants, despots, these are all words that the founding fathers used. A tyrant is someone that's trying to rule over people outside the rule of law. And we're supposed to have three separate co-equal branches of government. That would be the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. Guess what? The executive didn't write the law that the executive wanted them to. They didn't get it done. It wasn't the will of the people, of the constituents, of the Congress. Then the judicial slapped it down and said, no, you can't do this executive action. And the former vice president just did, and he admitted. And this is really no different. It's just getting a lot more public news right now, because I guess it affects more people. I mean, there's supposedly 100 million gun owners in the United States, but for some reason, anything but gun news always makes the mainstream headlines a lot more. I'm sure you guys have noticed that, and it's a little bit frustrating, but it's all tied in. It's all the same thing if you think about it. Congress writes laws. Now, we have 20-something thousand gun control laws in this country, and they're all unconstitutional, because the Second Amendment means what it says and says what it means, like literally, and it even tells you the why. See, most of the amendments, if you look at them, they don't tell you why, but the Second Amendment actually does. They wrote it a little bit different than the rest. Just think about that for a minute. They don't say that Congress shall pass no law abridging the freedom of speech, because if they do, they didn't do that, and we don't need them to do that necessarily, but in the Second Amendment, it was very, very pointed. It's very particular, very, very brief, in a good way, meaning since there's so few words, there's not really much to interpret in there. It literally says this: a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. And then the next thought, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, meaning it's necessary if we want a free state. If we want to be free, and I'm sure you do, and in my opinion, the current government does not want you to be free. Literally, it's becoming quite apparent lately. I mean, it's been apparent for a long time, but geez, every day now, there's just something else where you're like, are you kidding me? Is this even possible? How could they? Well, look, they declared their independence from a king in 1776, and it appears somebody's standing up right now and calling themselves a king. The former vice president now believes he's the king of the United States of America. In my opinion, Susan Wiki. So yeah, tons of crazy stuff going on, guys. But look, I want to thank all of you who are helping support the channel. I just got a super chat here, which I appreciate, and I'm going to read it in 1 second. All of you that are channel members supporting me on Patreon, you guys are totally awesome. I'm going to put up some exclusive footage for you very soon, and I actually have some stuff. Check your posts, like literally in the next couple days. And I have some stuff that I want to give away to you guys again, too. Maybe not something for all of you. We just literally spent like $500 on shipping, sending out like 100 things. But I can't talk about it too much on here. But I will definitely be hooking you guys up soon. I've also started a locals community. So check the description here. And if you're out there, Linda, maybe you could throw a link for the 2A EDU locals. Now, I'm still figuring out exactly what I'm going to do with it. Here's the gist of it. There's a lot of content on here that I would like to do, and I'm getting caught up on work, guys. I promise. Thanks so much for being patient with me. But there's videos that I've recorded in the past and I plan to record in the future that I just can't put on YouTube. They violate the terms, or in some cases they don't violate the terms, and they still either restrict them or delete outright, as they did a week and a half ago with the stream. So Locals is like a social media site where they don't have any gun rules or censorship. You can't break federal law. You can't do human trafficking or pornography. And that's like it. There are no, you can't touch this type of firearm. You can't talk about that. No, we actually can on there. So here's how Locals work. All of you can go over and join right now for free, or you can become a supporter, and it gives you increased functionality. This is the way the website's set up. So you can go over there right now for free and watch posts. You can read other posts people have made. But it's an interactive community where if you want to become a supporter, right now it's like intro of $3 a month, and you can actually become a supporter, it's called, and you can make your own posts. So you could post your own video to the 2A EDU community, pictures, just little blogs, whatever you want to do, and talk and interact with each other. So that's pretty cool. And right now, they're kind of a younger company, and they don't have ads. So basically, it's member supported. And once I get some more supporters, I'm going to be able to start streaming there, and then we can have a lot of fun. So go over there and check out my locals for sure. Now, if you guys can't support financially on locals or anywhere, that's totally awesome. There's other ways you can help, though. So on locals, if you go over there right now or after the stream, you'll see a few affiliate links that I posted up there that I can't post on YouTube. And I'm not Susan WikiWiki. This is not on your website. You don't own the whole internet yet. Hopefully never. And you guys could make normal purchases you normally would and definitely help the channel. If you shop on Amazon, some of you hate it, some of you don't. Check the link in the description of this video, and a small portion of that goes back to help the channel. So I really appreciate all the way you guys help, but really just being here and hanging out is awesome. And that does emotionally support and provide me the strength to keep coming back on here, despite how crazy everything is. But some of you guys have been on locals already, and some of you are making your own posts, and I put a couple little pictures showing you guys how much I'm working lately. But I'm gonna have some cool gun related videos that I just can't show on here. Now, before anyone asks, I'm not quitting YouTube. Now, they might kick me off someday, maybe tonight, maybe in a year, who knows? I don't know. You never know. But eventually we'll all be off of here. I get that. So as long as I'm allowed here, I'm going to keep posting and doing stuff here. So I'm not like taking away from YouTube. I'm going to post some stuff on locals that I never could post here to begin with. So there you go. I know a lot of guys have come in and said, oh, come on, you can't. Why are you taking? No, guys, I couldn't do it anyways. There's literally like words that I can't even say on here, or they'll instantly nuke my channel. But yes, guys, if you want to go over there, like I said, Patreon supporters, someone, JJ Rainey just said, I'm a Patreon supporter and I like it. I'm going to be able to share a lot with you guys on Patreon, a lot of the same stuff. And I'm trying to figure out how to use locals more. There's even a way I can bring some of the supporters that are supporting on other platforms over to locals and give you those benefits. But I'm in the infancy of it. But so far, I really like it. And I've not seen anyone from locals in there censoring or doing anything like that. So that's what I'm doing. A lot of you guys keep asking me, go on Rumble, go on blah, blah, blah. Look, I'm on Odyssey, okay? I don't respond to comments there because there's just too many places. I really like Rumble to a point, but it's just not working very well for me, guys. I'm not going to knock it. It's an awesome place, I'm sure. It's just the back end of it, the way it is to interact as a creator, it's become very cumbersome. I've gone through a bunch of different places, and I've settled on, I think locals is going to be my second home, you know, in addition to YouTube. So that's kind of the decision I've come up with for now. And I think you guys will like it over there. So definitely go over and join. And there's some cool links of companies I can't even discuss on here. Like literally, I can't even say. RP Talk with a super chat, 545. It's a good caliber. I think he's an AK-74 guy. Maybe specifically he likes the Polish Tantal. He says, these politicians could care less about our rights. They only care about kickbacks that line their pockets. Oh, I completely agree. I completely agree. And when you reach what's called absolute power, have you guys ever heard that saying? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. I know I've said it on these streams literally 100 times. And I'm going to read for you an excerpt from a letter where that saying actually comes from and puts a little context of what that actually means. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. America the Free with the super chat and a channel member. Thanks a lot, man. I think RP Talk was a channel member too, so I don't want to leave you out. He says, love you at 2A EDU. You rock. Well, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. It means more than you guys know. I could, look, guys, I could just like try to quit my job and become a professional YouTuber, but that's not, look, I want to be on here and still have fun. I have to censor myself a ton on here or else they'll literally kick me off, but I'm out landscaping like crazy, guys, so I can feed my family, and then I can still have fun with YouTube and do what I want to do and don't have to do all of what you guys would call the shill deals and all that. So you guys, you know, contributing like you do allows us to keep it fun and just kind of grassroots where I'm not just a marketing, advertising billboard. And no disrespect, you know, to the way some guys do their channels, but I have to really like something before I want to do a video on it. You guys know what I'm saying? and I haven't been putting out as many videos as I've wanted to lately. I've tried to explain. Maybe some of you guys get it, and if you don't, I'm sorry. But I have tons of gun content coming up. It's just life's been pretty tough lately. Like, really, like outside of YouTube, a lot of stuff. But I'm good, guys. Just haven't had time to do tons and tons of videos. You know what I'm saying? Let me go up here. John Crump Live, I was just talking about you a few minutes ago. I'm going to go over a little bit of your article about KCI. Thanks for the super chat, man, and a channel member, and the owner of Black Swan Tactical. Some of you guys have been sending me pictures of the merch from there. It looks pretty cool. So that's John's company. If you guys want to check out my merch, here's a 2A EDU shirt, which is pretty cool. This is mainly me shouting out John Crump more than myself, guys. I want to get behind his business, and you guys help out this channel a little bit too. Some of you guys have been showing me pictures, and I appreciate, you know, you helping out this channel, John, and giving people a place where they can represent, right? He says, sic Semper Tyrannus. For all of you Latin majors, what does that mean, guys? I'm going to let you guys answer in the chat. I know exactly what it means. What does it mean? Sic Semper Tyrannus. Rajani says, I love your videos. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. And plenty more gun videos coming, guys. Like, I literally have them recorded. I'll give you guys a story. My wife hit a large piece of metal. What's happening, Frank? How you doing, man? And it bent the blades so bad on the lawnmower that it, like, bound it and, like, staked there's, like, a long bolt and a nut. I had to use double impact guns to get it off with the torch, and it took like 8 hours to change a blade on my lawnmower. Trust me, guys, I'm definitely looking to do many more gun videos soon. It's just been kind of crazy around here after it rained so much, and then all of a sudden, just, I guess life happens sometimes, right? But I'm still reading. I'm still keeping track of everything. The Mexican government suing. What do you guys think about that? Literally insane. Edward Kent just became a YouTube member. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. What's going on, dude? I know we sent you something the other day. Hopefully you got it and liked it. He's been around a long time. What's happening, dude? Manuel Valise, another channel member. Thanks. He says, abolish the ATF. Abolish Chipman. Did you guys hear that about Chipman? Now, all of a sudden, allegedly, Susan, he was on the Chinese propaganda CCP network talking about gun control in America. And this is the guy that they want to nominate to run the ATF? Wow. Wow. Like, literally, you guys fill in the blanks. M. Gabriel, thus always to tyrants. Yep, looks like a few of you guys got it. Yes, sir. Pillbox Bunker, he's a channel member, Patreon supporter. What's happening, dude? Now, look, this channel, guys, like I said, I do it for fun and with the generous contributions from you all. But we do have a sponsor, and that would be Pillbox Bunker. He sponsored this nice half-track for Lamy, which obviously, look, guys, provides the security, not only for these streams, but for the shop in general and for me. And Pillbox, thanks, man. That was awesome. I'm going to tell you guys a quick story, too, because there's always new people watching. And for the rest of you, just go on in there and chat. If you're like, man, I've already heard this. But I'm going to share it again because we need to hear the good things, because we're going to talk about a bunch of bad things in a few minutes, too. And we have to. But we can talk about the good things. So it's called Two-Way Sanctuary Counties. I did a video series on Monroe County, my county that I live in, Livingston County, where I conduct most of my business. And I went there with people like Rick Nieper, Jane Locke, okay, my friend Rob. Awesome, awesome people. Well, including in that, Pillbox Bunker. And we've been talking on this YouTube channel, hanging out just like a lot of us do. And then we finally got to meet and hang out face to face. And in the parking lot, look, we won. We won the 2A Sanctuary Counties vote, the Livingston County Commissioners. He's like, dude, I got something for you. I got something for Lamy. So we met, we went out in the parking lot, got outside. He got it out of his truck, and he gave me this half track for Lamy. And it's just fun. And you guys can have a lot of fun too. You know, develop relationships, literally, true story, on this YouTube channel that you guys are watching right now on Friday nights, just like tonight. You know, we started to meet each other, and then we met in real life at a 2A Sanctuary County meeting. I've met him many other places now, obviously, but a lot of you guys, I see Max Shot 62 in here. What's happening, man? A couple different 2A type rallies that were going on locally here. He came, we met, we've hung out, we've had dinner together. Awesome, man. So you guys really need to do this. There's good people out there wherever you're at. And there's lots of like bad people too that for some reason support this former vice president. And for some reason want this country to go the way of China and many, many terrible places. Look, it's called socialism, communism, Bolsheviks. It's all the same thing. They've been attacking the world really since the late 1800s, 1917, the Bolshevik Revolution in China and Soviet Union that formed the Soviet Union, the USSR. Yeah, the Tsar in Russia came in, killed his family, took over. They were called the Bolsheviks, the Bolshevik Revolution, and it's still going right now. We're still in that fight, but you guys can actually meet up with each other and hang out, have a good time, talk about things, but there's a lot of fun that can happen too. I really, really encourage you guys to do that. Speaking of which, Drain the Swamp. There's another guy that I got to meet in real life. Seriously, just from this channel. And look, you guys get to read more of the chat than I do, so you guys could definitely be in there meeting each other, and I hope you guys are. Gort just became a channel member. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks, man. I'm assuming it's a man. He's got a more of a robot look, but heck yeah. So what's going on? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. You guys have heard of that saying before, and I want you to think about this. When you think about what the ATF is trying to do with these proposed rulemakings, they're trying to turn an arm brace, a stabilizing brace designed for disabled veterans, but commonly used by almost every type of person you can think of to help stabilize their pistol, make it safer to shoot, make it more effective. Remember that whole well-regulated militia thing? Well-regulated didn't mean the way we use regulated today. Well-regulated did not mean censored of the government. No, regulated meant a strong militia, at the ready, well-trained, well-armed. A formidable force would be another analogy to well-regulated. Well-disciplined, right? Well, firearms that have become very effective for many things. And remember this, when the government fears the people, there's liberty. But when the people fear the government, there's tyranny. And for some reason, the government, in my opinion, is afraid for people to have these pistols with braces that have become very, very effective to use in many, many situations, guys. Many. Just think about it. And they just want to ban them. They want to ban them with an unelected bureaucratic agency at the command of the, in my opinion, much, much, much too powerful executive branch. So think about that when we talk about absolute power. Think about a rent moratorium. Look, whether you guys believe in free rent or not, that's a whole nother topic. Obviously, I don't believe in free stuff because there's no such thing as free. That just equals people that are paying taxes, supporting. Look, here's the problem, though. Here's the big, big, huge, huge fundamental constitutional problem with this. They put in executive action. The Supreme Court smacked it down and said that is unconstitutional. The legislative branch, which very clearly, pointedly in the Constitution says that the Congress makes law, they did not make a law. The executive action was shot down by the Supreme Court, and they said, we're going to do it anyways. We're going to do it again, and we're going to do whatever the heck we want. And we dare any of these other separate but supposedly equal branches to step in our way. I kind of had the feeling of, what are you going to do to stop me? It almost reminded me, and this is something I've said many times on these streams. Chairman Mao, he was the military leader and just basically became installed as the supreme ruler. Nobody knows how many people he killed. Some people say 20 million, some people say 40 million, but it's probably closer to 100, 150 million people that were killed, not only by his firing squads, but the starvation and the many, many other things of the Mao communist regime of China, right? Look, I'm not saying Mao was a smart man, certainly probably one of the most evil that's ever lived, but he did say something that was right. He did say something that was right. He said all political power comes from the barrel of a gun. And in my opinion, Susan, and all the YouTube team that's watching tonight, what do you guys think that work at YouTube? Do you YouTube employees? This would look good. Go to Black Swan Tactical. If any of you YouTube employees would like this on your desk, by the way. But we're not going to give you a coupon code. Any YouTube employees have to pay full price. But Mao said all political power comes from the barrel of a gun. And then I just saw the former vice president get up there and say, yeah, it's probably not legal what I'm doing. I'm paraphrasing, Susan, in my opinion. It's probably not legal what I'm doing. It probably won't pass constitutional muster. But guess what? I'm just going to do it anyways. I'm just going to do it and see what happens. Maybe it'll buy us some time. Maybe not. We're just going to do whatever the heck we want. Wow. That's a lot of power, isn't it? We're a country that was supposed to have been formed by the people, where the government would only be there to protect our natural, God-given rights. And that's literally why the government would be instituted. That it would be instituted amongst men, and that it would govern only at the consent of the governed. But now we have somebody standing there unilaterally. Yeah. One person, monarchy, saying, nah, doesn't matter what the court says. What does it sound like to you guys? Does that sound like absolute power? Well, you've heard a saying before, right? Ken Rodriguez, thanks for the super chat, man. Channel member, he says 556, he says freedom. Heck yeah, man. Reptile guys, thanks for being a supporter of the channel, dude. Stephen Wagner, you've been a generous supporter. I just don't want to miss you guys. Mike McClune, and I'm sure I missed somebody, but I'll catch up to you guys in a little bit. Look at Overwatch's avatar, guys. What do you think of that? Look at that. Shout out to Overwatch. In my opinion, a very nice avatar, Overwatch. So you guys have heard that saying, absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? And that actually came from a letter written by Lord Acton to Bishop Cretan. Now, this is getting on, 140 years ago. This was a letter that he wrote in 1887. And I'm going to read an excerpt from it, okay? It says, Lord Acton writes to Bishop Cretan in a series of letters concerning the moral problem of writing history about the Inquisition. Action believes that the same moral standards should be applied to all men, political and religious leaders, including and especially since, in his famous phrase, power tends to corrupt and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And here's an excerpt, and this is what I want you guys to think about. Look, none of us should be despots over other people. You don't have the right to tread on other people's rights as a simple plebe, as a mere civilian, whatever you want to call yourselves. You don't have that right. But I would say furthermore, the former vice president, if we ever have a president, anything like that, I think they especially should be held to strict standards, probably a lot more than just a regular person, because the more you have power, the more power you have. And this has just been shown throughout history, right? The higher your propensity to all of a sudden become corrupt. And it seems like power corrupts the best of people. And this letter talked about this a long, long time ago, well over 100 years ago, 2 centuries ago. And I think it's very, very important today. I love you too, man. Thank you. I read this stuff out of the corner of my eyes, guys, and I read all of it tomorrow or the next day. But here's what he said. This was Lord Acton, I'm sorry. 1887. He said, I cannot accept your canon that we are to judge Pope and King, unlike other men, with a favorable presumption that they did no wrong. Listen to this. This is important stuff. That we cannot judge them under a favorable presumption that they did no wrong. If there is any presumption, it is the other way against holders of power, increasing as the power increases. So the more power they get, the more scrutiny they need, the more chains that we need to put on them. We're not supposed to be in a cage. The Bill of Rights puts them in a cage. And you guys need to remember that. And you need to be encouraged by that. But it goes on. Increasing as the power increases. Historic responsibility has to make up for the want of legal responsibility. Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Great men are almost always bad men, even when they exercise influence and not authority. Still more, when you superadd the tendency or the certainty of corruption by authority, there is no worse heresy than that the office sanctifies the holder of it. That is the point at which the negation of Catholicism and the negation of liberalism meet and keep high festival, and the end learns to justify the means. You guys ever heard that before? Do the ends justify the means? So, hey, as long as we end up in this beautiful communist utopia, who cares if you no longer have personal property rights? Who cares how many people have to die? If thousands of people need to die to save one life, it's worth it as long as we get this utopia. That's what communists and Marxists preach. Yeah. If we have to cover the faces of all 9-year-olds in this country where they can't breathe, where they can't share their faith with people, where they can't communicate like normal people, if we have to destroy thousands and millions of lives and make the cure 10 times worse than the disease, let's do it. If it saves one life, like what he's talking about here, sounds a lot like stuff that I've thought about recently. Maybe you guys are thinking about it too. You would hang a man of no position, like Ravalik, but if what one hears is true, then Elizabeth asked the gaoler to murder Mary, and William III ordered his Scots minister to extirpate a clan. Here is the greater names coupled with the greater crimes. So what he's saying is the bigger the names were, the more powerful the people, the more atrocious their crimes were. You would spare these criminals for some mysterious reason? I would hang them higher than Haman, for reasons of quite obvious justice. Still more, still higher, for the sake of historical science. So what he's saying is this, and again, this is very, very pertinent right now. The higher this person has, the more authority they have, the more influence they have over masses of people, the more they should be punished for their crimes and the more scrutiny they should be under. And no, the ends don't justify the means. You don't just get to, at will, do whatever you want because you're a king. In fact, if you are a king, or in this case, he was talking about, the Catholic Church specifically, a very high religious leader. You could apply this to any church you want that has substantial political power. And religions have had vast power in many countries throughout the world today, and they always have been. He's saying, no, if you commit mass crimes and you're the former vice president, if you're a judge, things like that, somebody of a high position, you should have more scrutiny and you should have more punishment. But that actually doesn't seem to be the way it works. And that's where that saying, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Power corrupts. Even a very, very good person, if they're given too much power, generally usually becomes corrupted. And then when they get absolute power, where there's nothing anyone can do to rein them in, then they corrupt absolutely. And where they should be held to the highest possible standard for their crimes, they're usually held to the lowest or none at all. And in our opinion, just get by with, in broad daylight, even literally announcing to the American people on TV, I am outside the rule of law, but I'll do whatever I want. Have you guys heard stuff like that lately? I think it's interesting because I just wanted to share this with you guys because I don't want you to be sitting there at home in your living room or wherever you're hanging out. Some of you guys might be in the mountains. Some of you might be in the inner city right now. But this is still America for all of you, regardless of where you are. And you might think, man, is it just me? Am I the first person that thought that there's something not right here? That it appears that things are getting corrupt beyond belief? No, it's not just you. People have been talking about this for hundreds of years. They've probably been talking about it since the beginning of time. But we have this letter here in 1887 talking about topics that to me have everything to do with what's going on right now. Literally. A lot of this reminds me of the King of England in the 1770s. Yeah. And now we're actually going to talk about the Third Amendment. Look it up, guys, real quick. Have you heard of the Third Amendment? We don't talk about it much. It's been called the runt piglet of the Bill of Rights, meaning it's not really been used. It's, in fact, never been used in any substantive form in the Supreme Court to influence a decision. Literally, this is an amendment that's relatively unlitigated, at least compared to all the rest. America the Free, 556 super chat. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. He says, I'm with Ken Rodriguez, 64 freedom. Awesome, dude. I'm sure there's a heck of a lot of people with you on that. Heck of a lot of people. Reptile Guys with a super chat and a channel member. Thanks, man. He said, watch the Zoom call that someone had got and some higher up prominent people were talking about the jab, hopefully sterilizing 60% of the world population. I've heard that stuff too, but we're on YouTube, Susan, so I can't give any medical advice. Talk to your doctor. This is not a medical channel, but I've heard things too. Trust me. So the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, very important. Let's go to the Third Amendment. Did I give you guys enough time to cheat real quick? Do you guys know what the Third Amendment is? What's happening, BWE Firearms? How you doing, man? Go check out his channel, guys. In 2 years, when he's caught up on his backlog, I'm gonna see if he can build me a little something. Firearms maker, great guy, fighting the good fight. I'm praying for you, man. I'm praying for you. He's battling some health problems, guys, but he's a pretty tough dude. What's happening, BWE? I like that guy. The Third Amendment, okay? And this isn't like Second Amendment related, but it is though, because look, these are all intertwined. You can't just literally take, like, you have a brick wall. You can't, and it's contained of 10 bricks. And this wall will block tyranny out, right? And keep liberty in, however you want to look at it. You can't just sit there and start pulling one brick out from the bottom and another one here. All of a sudden, the mortar joints won't overlap anymore, and that wall is going to quickly crumble. So you just start pulling one amendment out here, one amendment out there. I mean, look at the Second Amendment. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas has been complaining for years. Probably 3 or 4 years ago, he came out and said, I'm sick and tired of the Second Amendment being considered a second-class right. We all know this, but even a Supreme Court justice acknowledging that the Second Amendment has been looked upon by the courts at large, the legislators, the executive branch, as a second-class right, one that just doesn't hold the same strict scrutiny as other amendments do. So they're already trying to destroy and or undermine as many as they can. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, the Third Amendment comes into play. Actually, yeah, in my opinion, and we'll talk about this. In my opinion, Susan Wiki, Amendment number 3, no soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in times of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. Not executive order, a law. Congress makes a law, obviously, in the Constitution. Now, there's a couple ways to look at this, all right? There's a couple ways. The first way would be literally exactly what it says. And exactly what it says is pertinent to what's going on right now with this former vice president. But let's look at it actually what they intended it to mean. So around the time this was written, 1791, they weren't very far removed from some laws that had passed around 1774 that the king had put in place for the colonists, which at that time were still on paper loyal British subjects, right? Now they went in and tried to confiscate the ammunition, the magazines, right? They tried to confiscate their guns, and that's actually what kicked off the war. The T-Tax, the Stamp Act, those were inconveniences, and they didn't like those, but that's actually not what truly kicked off the war. A lot of things did, and one of them at that time was where the British soldiers would just come into people's homes. This was the state, this was the government, and they would just eat their food, sleep in their house, take their belongings, in many cases, allegedly have ways with their women, just do whatever they wanted, just pillage people's private residence. So this was a really, really big deal. See, the Bill of Rights is very short, and they didn't put many things in there, but they put this in there for a reason, because it had been not even 20 years earlier, and British soldiers. Now, let's look at what a soldier was at that time, that were running rampant and just pillaging their homes, basically, having their way with their homes, right? This was basically the equivalency of what we would call not only just like what we look at a soldier today in the army, right? No, it was that, but since they weren't technically at war at that point, they were actually more like policemen. It was just the strong arm of the law, the people with guns that were there, because just like Mao said, all political power comes from the barrel of a gun. So they brought people with guns over to make sure that the good little plebes, the good little peasants, the colonists at that time, British subjects still, they could be ordered around and marched around with people with guns to pay their tax, to do this and that, and all the things that the monarchy wanted them to do. So really, if you look at the Third Amendment, like how we do the First and Second Amendment, obviously, back then it was a printing press. You had to make plates, and it was a complicated process. Well, obviously, the First Amendment applies to speech on the internet, except for when you're on certain big text, then it doesn't, but that's a whole nother thing. We won't get into that right now. But the Second Amendment, it's not just the musket. It's obviously the AR-15, which is the most prolific firearm, modern sporting rifle in the United States today. Well, think about the Third Amendment, okay? No soldier shall, It's actually really just saying the government, because that's what they were at that time. They didn't have police, again, the way they do now. It wasn't like you had your local PD and all of that. So really, if you, and I don't mean this as a growing, breathing document. I don't believe that. I mean, this literally says what it says and says what it means. But soldier back then basically meant law enforcement or any type. The government shall not be quartered in your house without consent. Well, if you believe that's what it actually means, and I do generally, it's a complicated topic, but that's what how can the CDC say now that people don't have to pay rent? So the government is forcing people to be quartered in your home from a government agency. Is that a Third Amendment violation? Now let's look at it right on its face. There's two things I'm talking about here. It could be either or both, or you could say neither. You know, especially if you agree with the former vice president. But even if you don't agree with him, you could say it's one or the other or neither. Let's look at literal soldiers. So this rent moratorium, it's vast. And it's basically telling landlords, which, look, guys, all landlords aren't millionaires and billionaires. There's a lot of landlords where it's literally an elderly couple that worked their whole life, and their life savings was they bought the house next door and rent it out. Or they bought a duplex and they live in one part and have a tenant in the other part. Or they rent a room upstairs. You guys might be in that situation or know somebody that way. Or they worked 80 hours a week, worked overtime for 40 years, and bought 2 or 3 houses in town to rent. Taxes are still due, repairs are still due, water bills still due. But now the government's coming in and saying, you can't kick them out and you can't make them pay rent. So literally, from the strong arm of the law, the CDC of all things, is installing people in your home. By one reading of what the Third Amendment might mean, that's a violation. But even if you look at the strict sense, soldier, of all of the people that this moratorium, of all the people out there, it stands to reason, and in fact, no doubt, obviously, there are some literal soldiers right now that are living in people's either apartment buildings, duplexes, homes. There's active duty, aren't there? Think about it. And this would apply to National Guard, too. Are there military personnel? This country's a big place right now that are living off base, rent-free, with this moratorium. If they are, and it's the government telling you, you cannot collect rent and you cannot evict them, the government's going to force you under duress of a fine and a prison sentence, because that's what the moratorium says, literally, that you can't kick this soldier out of your house. The Third Amendment, guys, it just literally got brought into the spotlight. And I'm going to share a story with you on that in 1 second here. The Reptile guys with a super chat and a channel member. Thanks, man. I already read that, but I'm going to thank you again. Marco Polo. There you go. I forgot to click over. Thanks for the super chat, man. He said, my daughter ready to fight a good my daughter ready to fight a good fight, I think he means. File lawsuit against the Mexican government. Prayers go out to family of police officer who died at the Pentagon. Well, man, keep up the good fight, dude. Keep up the good fight. And if you're saying it was a good night, well, then it's a good night, too. It's always a good night when we're fighting the good fight, isn't it, man? File lawsuit against the Mexican government. Think about that. A lot of you guys left tons and tons of comments where it's like, yeah, they're going to sue us because gun makers are making guns. Geez, like, you could start right now and you'd probably be typing till this stream's over the list of things that you could think of suing the Mexican government for. Wow. Crazy. I can't even believe it. Marshall P with the super chat. Thanks a lot, man. He said, I appreciate what you do. I just built my first 1911 45 with motivation from you to learn more. Awesome, dude. I already had done AR-15s and AR-10s. Thanks for everything. Well, thanks, dude. And that's kind of what I like about locals. Go check out my locals community, guys. You can go over there for free. You'll get some enhanced functionality if you become a supporter. Just go over there and check it out. You know what I'm saying, guys? But I will actually be able to show build videos over there and like modifications and things you cannot do on YouTube, where they'll literally take the video down if it's a stream, or take it down generally, or restrict it if you get lucky. So there you guys go. Just look for me over there. 2A EDU on locals. What's happening, Swamp Dog Armory? How you doing, man? Edward Kent just joined locals. Cool, man. Ting Ting, how you doing? Moose Man 64. TJ Drama. Yeah, dude, you're not the first person that's told me that, and that's all right. If there was 10 of us in here hanging out, it's more than I ever expected there to be, but I've noticed views are down lately, and you're not the only one. Tons of people are saying haven't been getting notifications when I go live, and you have them turned on. If any of you in the chat have tricks for that, I don't know. Some people say uncheck it, check it again. I don't know. I don't know what to do, guys. Maybe some of the people can help you out. The Third Amendment. So look, this is real, guys. The Third Amendment Lawyers Association opposes eviction moratorium. Now think about it, guys. Some of you guys been soldiers before. Now back then it was just, the army. I know technically there's a distinction in modern parlance. A soldier means specifically the army, and a sailor would be navy and airmen. But look, just colloquially, any of you guys veterans, were any of you when you were active duty, whether it be in the guard, okay, or if you were in the regular Army, Navy, Air Force, look, soldiers, former soldiers out there, or current, did any of you ever rent an apartment or rent a house from a landlord? And no doubt, is there anybody right now that's doing that you think you can think of? And if the federal government is forcing the landlord to not be able to collect rent and to not be able to affect that soldier that's living there, what do you guys think? Does that have Third Amendment implications? No soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without consent to the owner. Now keep in mind, if the owner kicks this soldier out of their house, now look, guys, we don't want to kick soldiers out. It has nothing to do with that, okay? Nothing to do with that. But if they did, okay, if there was some reason where they wanted to kick this soldier out, mainly because they needed to pay their rent and they didn't pay their rent, obviously, and they wanted to kick him out, and the government says you can't kick him out, or else you get excessive fines and imprisonment. So no soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in times of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. So this is saying that there would have to be a law written if we were in war. But if we're in times of peace, a soldier can't be quartered. They can't be quartered in your home no matter what, in your house. Is that the government quartering soldiers? I don't know. It might not be exactly as they wrote it, but think about it for a minute. It's kind of crazy. Well, there's somebody actually suing based on this, okay? And a lot of you guys know how the military stuff works. Somebody just said right here, Ben Frank 15, the military literally pays basic housing allowance when you live off post, okay? Now, if the military's cutting the check directly, maybe, but there's a scenario, at least that's what it says in this lawsuit, the plaintiffs, that there's scenarios where there are some soldiers, military personnel, that are not paying their rent right now. And the moratorium saying you have to keep them, you can't kick them out, and they don't have to pay rent. And they are saying that this is quartering a soldier. So the Third Amendment Lawyers Association opposes eviction moratorium. And this is from 8/6. So this just broke today. Plaintiffs seek to recover possession of their properties from tenants who have failed to pay their rent. Ordinarily, the eviction process would play out in the courts. The CDC eviction moratorium prevents this, and they cannot resort to self-help. Example, Menendez v. Johnson. They go through and they talk about different court cases, blah, blah, blah. But here's what they say. As a result, plaintiffs are being forced to house individuals, i.e., quarter them without their consent. Given the size of the population at issue, some of these tenants are bound to be soldiers. To the extent the CDC moratorium prohibits evicting a soldier, it runs afoul of the Third Amendment. This constitutionally significant issue warrants this court's attention. What do you guys think? It's interesting to say the least. Now, look, I don't think that some of you guys that are in the service now, look, you're not going to be in this home in the same manner that the Brits were, but that's besides the point. That's besides the point. There's a constitutional amendment. I mean, it's not besides the point in one thing, but I'm just talking about as it pertains to this. That's awesome that any current soldier isn't going to be in there pillaging and raping and doing all these crazy things in this person's home. That's not what I meant. But at the same time, it doesn't say that. It says no soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner. Period. Very interesting. We know the First Amendment's under attack, obviously, when we saw the, what's her name? Jen Psaki or something like that. Jen Psaki, they call her. Got up there and she called on social media to censor people and said that if you're censored from one platform, you should be censored from them all. There's one very, very recent example of them usurping the first. The Second Amendment, geez, do I even need to start with that? But let's just say these current executive bureaucratic laws that they're trying to put in place, fiat law, yeah, the redefinition of frames and receivers. And I just saw someone earlier talking about how Marshall P. just billed his first 1911. They're trying to change that, man. They might not completely make it illegal, but they're looking to make tons of hurdles with that. Trying to make braces and SBR, where you have to pay a tax to the king, to the monarchy, right? And then the most important part, what they really want is for them to all be on the NFA registration, which has always led to confiscation. Second Amendment, obviously under attack. Third Amendment, Fourth Amendment, geez, obviously. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. Yeah, except for the NSA listens to every single phone call, like in the whole world and country. Shall not be violated, no warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath and affirmation, except for we have secret courts. Yeah. And particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized, even though now they're just doing, we have one warrant where we will just listen to all cell phone conversations. Particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Well, there's the Fourth Amendment. The Fifth Amendment, there's still people right now from what they call it many, many things. Let's just say from early January this year that are still sitting there in solitary confinement, literally this long. And a lot of them haven't even been fully charged or indicted. Fifth Amendment, no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia when in the actual service in time of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject to the same offense to be put in jeopardy of life or limb. That's double jeopardy, even though if you get off on the state case, now the feds are coming and charging people federally. Even though the 14th Amendment is supposed to connect the states in with the Bill of Rights. Crazy. I could literally go through all these for hours, but I'll try to skim through it. Nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself or to be deprived of life, liberty, or property without the due process of law, except for Trump just said, I don't like bump stocks, get them gone. They just took them, like literally, with no due process. And you didn't get a court case, but the GOA is suing on that. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. And they took the bump stocks and never gave us any type of compensation whatsoever. Crazy. I can keep going on and on. And that's why, like I said, the Second Amendment, I believe it's there. Not in case, but when they try to come for all the rest. And it's just like every day you wake up and you're like, what the heck's going on? Do you guys kind of feel that way? You're like, hold on a minute. So the Supreme Court shot him down. Now, look, I have problems with all these branches of government. They've all become overbloated. I think the Supreme Court a lot of times does what many people call judicial activism, right? Where instead of them just interpreting the laws, they try to create law by court precedent. So they've got their issues too. But what's called rule of law, these three separate branches of the government, it's supposed to be if the Supreme Court shoots down an executive action, it's supposed to be dead. And the former vice president actually pretty much acknowledged that, in my opinion, Susan. Susan and the team of YouTubers who like to watch this video. By the way, guys, if you like the video so far, the stream tonight, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Even if you don't like the stream, which I hope you do, you probably like the chat, so give it a thumbs up. But here's the thing, if you give a thumbs up, it's the same as giving her a thumbs down. So, if for nothing else, Susan Wiki, right? We always have to qualify ourselves on here. That's why I'm going to start, guys. I'll be slowing down on work soon here. I'm going to start putting more and more stuff on locals. I'll still be here on YouTube, but stuff I can't put on here because there's just things you can't do here, right? In my opinion, the former vice president just came up and said, he said a lot of things. He said that he took care of corn pop and we'd all be fine. Now, how did anyone possibly? Most popular president of all time, Susan WikiWiki. According to Susan WikiWiki, YouTube sucks, guys. There's so much I'd like to say right now, and I'm just going to take one more drink of my water and laugh. According to the Associated Press and Susan on YouTube, the most popular presidential election of all time, and he literally ran on, there was a guy named Corn Pop, and he was a bad dude, and he was terrorizing the local people. And then the former vice president come out and took a piece of chain and ran him and his bad boys off. Literally. Like, this isn't like a cartoon. This was literally the campaign. Yeah. And then when they said, well, how are you going to protect? What's your foreign policy going to be? He said, I'll mobilize an effective strategy to shoot an inanimate national pressure. Literally. That's what he said. He got up there and he said, I'm Joe Biden and I'm going to beat Joe Biden. Remember that? And then he said, oh, guys, it's lovely. It's lovely to be here today in New Hampshire, except for he was in Massachusetts. He said, I'm Jill Biden's husband. Remember that? And then when he was doing a big rally, and when I say big, the most popular, according to Susan and the Associated Press, the most popular presidential election of all time. Of all time. Literally. Because of Corn Pop, obviously, and his intellect, and his toughness, and his, in my opinion, hatred for our country. The most popular, he was at his biggest rally he ever had. Remember that? There were 12 people there. They all stood in little circles. Did you guys see that? Seriously, there's this big parking lot. Now, look, if it was a Trump rally, the parking lot would have been full. I went to a Trump rally in Michigan. I had to walk like the whole airport full. I said, what's going on here? Like, we got out of our car. We were miles away. We looked back. You could barely see the hangar. I start to walk, and people are like, excuse me, sir, you're cutting in line. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm going to the Trump rally. They're like, no, the line's back here. I'm like, but we're 4 miles away. Yeah, that's where the line's at. The airport was full. There was a line for miles. Then when you got closer, it wrapped around. Now, the former vice president was at his most popular rally that he had. So you looked out. They said half of them later on, they found out were members of the media. They told members of the media, hurry up, get out there in the crowd. We need a crowd. So they have these circles, right? You ever play like hopscotch? So circles, and they painted it, and you had to stand in the circle. Like, you know, they'd all stand out there. You remember that? There was 12 of them there. Half of them are media, which was the largest crowd that the former vice president would have. And he stood up on the stage, and there's 6 out of the 12 people were clapping. Biggest crowd for the most popular Susan WikiWiki of all time. And they're all standing there. And he said, guys, I want you to meet. This is my wife. This is my daughter, sister. Oh, they switched on me. This is my wife. Then this is my daughter. And all 6 people in their little circle. Most popular of all time. Now he's getting on there and he's standing there and he says, it's probably not going to pass constitutional muster. There's probably nothing legally I could do at all. And I'm paraphrasing Susan. But I'm going to do it anyways. I don't care what the Supreme Court says. Is that shocking? Is it shocking that they said, I don't care what the Second Amendment says. Let's just redefine what a frame and receiver is. Even though there's the National Firearms Act and the Gun Control Act, which are both unconstitutional, because all gun laws are unconstitutional. But even within those unconstitutional laws, they very, very clearly defined as enacted by Congress, as signed by, at that time, duly elected presidents. And they're actually going around those laws even further. And they just want to redefine. Look, you've been able to build firearms in the United States since before we were the United States. In fact, if the colonists couldn't build firearms, we would still be Great Britain right now. Like, literally right now. Now, why is it that the King of England didn't want people to be able to make their own firearms, their own ammunition. They didn't want the militia, the people, to be well regulated. And why would it be that it appears that the former vice president is unilaterally making edicts from the official podium of the White House saying things, right? While at the same time wanting to take away your right to keep and bear arms. Now, does history repeat itself? What do you guys think? It might not repeat itself exactly, but it's pretty much like a reflection of looking in the mirror of itself, isn't it? Why was it that we had a warning about this in 1887 about how power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? And it feels a lot like that today, doesn't it? Just think about it for a second. I mean it, guys. Now you can think about it and draw some inspiration, and I hope you do, because if they take away the Second Amendment, they're going to take away all the rest. And if we lose this country, if we lose America, we ain't never, ever, ever going to get it back. Now, are they just desperate right now? Sure seems like they're desperate. Everyone's suing everyone. Mexico's suing gun makers. There's a gun rights group suing KCI. I'm going to go to that story in 1 second here. Curtis Reynolds with a super chat. Thanks a lot, man. Very generous. I appreciate it. And I'm glad to hear that you get a lot from my streams. He said, I always enjoy your live streams. I get a lot from them. Thumbs up. Thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all of you guys. I'm going to go back and read this chat later. Anyone that's become a channel member recently, YouTube doesn't give us your address. Email 2aedupperks@gmail.com so we can get you like a sticker or possibly other cool stuff, depending. Look, guys, we have to learn from history, because if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. And look, there's some really, really evil people out there. I mean, look at this former vice president. Look at him. What do you think? What do you think that is? And evil always has prevailed and always will prevail if good men do nothing. And it's easy just to sit back and say, well, it's not so bad. I mean, it might suck for this landlord down the street, but I'm not a landlord. I don't like bump stocks. They're just a piece of plastic, a lot of people said. Heck, there's gun owners saying that right now. They're saying, it's just a piece of plastic. Who cares? Heck, one of the prominent gun trainers came out and said, just man up and buy a tax stamp. Screw the braces. You don't need those. Just man up and buy a tax stamp and make it an SBR. There's a lot of people saying a lot of things, but how often can you just get saying, oh, it's just my First Amendment. It's just the second. It's just the third, fourth, fifth. And then you wake up one day and you're like, where's my country? What's going on? I'll tell you what, people in China right now, do you guys remember Tiananmen Square? Back in the 80s? Now, it wasn't just that. That's the one that made all the publicity, but there were actually many, many college students throughout the whole country, okay? And many cities out there trying to protest. But they didn't have the Second Amendment or the First Amendment. And a lot of them got locked up and imprisoned. Some of them just literally disappeared. There's people that lived in China at that time that said, my classmates and I were out protesting, and they took away my 2 classmates, and I never, ever saw them again. And they put it on national TV, international TV. And we all saw that famous thing where the college student stood down in front of the tank. But we don't think about the fact of all those people who literally, they call it disappeared. That's literally what they call it. They said, there was a bunch of us out there protesting. So-and-so went to jail for a while. That means many things in China. Jail, camp, work camp. That's where they make your iPhones and things like that, you know. Many, many other things. Not just iPhones, but iPhones and many popular things. They call it work camp, concentration, prison. No, actually, they said a lot more of them that you don't hear about. They literally... their classmates, their friends, they just took them away and they never, ever saw them again. Yeah. That's what happens. Those people wanted to be free too and wanted to exercise their freedoms. But no, they had a Unitarian. They had a monopoly on power, absolute power that was corrupted absolutely, and there was nothing the plebes could do. And I just saw somebody stand up from supposedly the, what do you want to call it? The official podium of the White House stood up and said, Nah, it's probably illegal what I'm doing. It probably won't pass muster. It doesn't matter what the Supreme Court says, but I'm just going to do it anyways. And like, who's going to stop me? Like, is anyone going to stop me? Probably not. Like, what's the Supreme Court going to do? And he's thinking to himself when Mao said, all political power comes from the barrel of a gun. And he's thinking, well, who has more guns, me and my people or the Supreme Court? I don't know what happens, guys, when the Supreme Court says you're bound by this decision and you have to do it. And then the executive just says, no, I won't do it. I don't know. I do know what happened, though. Around 1775, when the federal government came into the people, to the militia, and said, yeah, time to turn in the guns, right? They didn't sit there and appeal to the courts. No, they did it a little bit different way, didn't they? Shot heard around the world. We had conquered Lexington, right? Massachusetts. That's where it all got kicked off. And that's literally what they did so that we would have this government. I'll tell you what this government was supposed to be. Well, I'm not going to tell you. I couldn't possibly, come up with anything like this. But I'm going to read this real quick, and then we're going to talk briefly about another lawsuit, the GOA bump stock case, and why that matters so much. So literally, they came in, the monarchy, the king, right? And said, you will quarter soldiers in your home. You don't have the right to keep and bear arms. You'll pay this tax. You'll pay that tax. Remember what Ben Franklin said? Those, right? Those who would give up an essential liberty for a little bit of safety. What did he say next? Deserves neither and will ultimately end up with neither. Think about that. That was over a very, very small tax. And they said, but we need that tax to keep you safe. Well, they came in Congress July 4th, 1776. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. Now, keep in mind the stuff that's been going on, guys, and how much this, well, I think this is just as beautiful and just as relevant today as it was back then. In fact, I would argue once we hear some of the things in here, maybe actually more relevant today than it was then in many ways. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And if you had those, like, what more could you possibly need? Like, that's literally the epitome of something beautiful. Don't you guys think so? That to secure these rights, we talked about earlier, what's the government supposed to be? How powerful is the government supposed to be? It's right here. And it's really simple. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That's you and me. That's who the governed are. Who is supposed to offer their consent? That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate the governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. How sufferable are they? 15 days. Think about this. 15 days to slow the spread is now 509 days. We've seen despots on all levels, like I've never seen before. 509 days to slow the spread. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies and Michiganders and New Yorkers and people that have been underneath some of those tyrannical despots of all time that are in our times right now. And such now the necessity to which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain. Look, this king, he was a despot. He was a tyrant. And this was a monarchy. And Ben Franklin said, what do we have? A republic, if you can keep it. And now we have somebody standing up there saying it doesn't matter what the Supreme Court says. It's probably illegal what I'm going to do. But I'm just going to do it anyways. We'll just see what happens. Meanwhile, they're coming after us being able to build our own guns, being able to put devices on them to make them originally designed and intended for a handicapped veteran. But many, many people are going to use this, right? These. And it actually makes these weapons a lot more effective. And they're trying to get rid of those right now with executive action, executive fiat. Trying to install David Chipman, someone that allegedly, Susan, as reported, was doing propaganda for the CCP, Communist China. It's called the Communist China Party, right? Chinese Communist Party. Doing anti-American gun propaganda for them. Allegedly, allegations of racism. Allegations at places like Waco, Texas. Yeah. Trying to install him as the person that would be the nation's top law enforcement person over firearms. That's kind of crazy. It's kind of a little bit more than kind of crazy, isn't it? The GD Bacon with a super chat. Thanks a lot, man. 303 British. He says, Bandit. I'm digging tonight. Gonorrhea. No. Uh-oh. Are you talking about? No, I think they said, I don't want to talk too much about health stuff. Susan Wiki. Look at that. That's a real beauty, isn't it? Thanks for the super chat, GD Bacon. Some of the stuff you guys say, I'm like, I want to say this, but I'm on YouTube right now. Linda, 2AEDU's #1 fan. Wow, look at her. She's a beauty. Literally. Your chat keeps disconnecting. What's going on with that? Throw my vocals up there if you wouldn't mind, Linda, because I'm going to be over there soon when I get a little bit of time. So check this out, the bump stock case. This is very, very important. Like literally, this new redefining, serialization, classification of certain firearms parts, frames, receivers. Look, they're going after home builds. Let's face it. That, as well as the braces, these all are relying on this Chevron deference. Chevron versus the Department of Natural Resources case, right? Which basically said that they could interpret a law where there was any kind of vagueness, and then the interpretation would have more force and effect than the actual plain reading of the statute itself. Now, this is bureaucracies, right, that are doing this. So whether it's the DNR, the EPA, or in this case, the ATF, right? Well, there's only one problem. The Chevron case, first of all, I don't think court cases should be able to completely overrule congressional law. When you've got somebody like a monarch just comes out and says, I will edict this, that's different what's going on right now with the rent moratorium. But when you actually have congressional laws, I don't think they should be able to just change the words. The bureaucracy shouldn't be able to anyways. But that's what they've been doing. But they're relying on Chevron deference. And this comes from Gun Owners of America. I hope you guys are members. Gun Owners Foundation, which is their sister company. They do it separate for, let's just say, tax reasons. Gun Owners of America, guys. It takes more than just supporting them. You still have to do your part every day, but I hope all of you are supporting them by now because they literally are out there fighting the good fight. And this bump stock case, man, if you guys didn't think it mattered back then, please, please, please understand how much it matters now. Like literally the whole way, not just for the Second Amendment, but the whole way this country works, period, on these agency interpretations in this Chevron, all hangs in the balance of the GOA's lawsuit and the 6th United States Circuit Court of Appeals here in Western Michigan, not too far from where I'm at right now. And the lower panel, we won, you could say. But then they appealed, the government appealed to do it en banc, it's called. So now the full 6th Circuit, all of the judges are going to be hearing this case. Well, it's good news, and this just came out a couple days ago. Bump stock case gains momentum as 18 attorneys general submit brief. And this comes out of Springfield, Virginia. Attorneys general from 18 states have filed an amicus brief in GOA versus Garland. This case represents the legal challenge launched by Gun Owners of America and Gun Owners Foundation against the bump stock ban imposed by BATFE. GOA v. Garland is gaining support and momentum, and others in the pro-Second Amendment community, such as the NRA, which actually originally supported the ban, but hey, recently joined the case. GOA and GOF Senior Vice President Eric Pratt said, and like I said, man, I've seen Eric on a lot of videos. Look, if the GOA, if I ever see them doing any funny business, you guys will be the first to know. Look, they appear to be the no compromise gun lobby. I've never seen them compromise yet. They literally want to repeal the National Firearms Act. They've been against the bump stocks from the whole time, and they're actually right now in the courts getting it done. So I really, really am grateful that the GOA is out there. And I know people that work for the GOA. I have a good friend that's a state director that's not even taking a salary, basically donating it back into the GOA. I mean, these guys are a pretty lean machine, not like other big gun rights groups. But yeah, check it out. Attorneys General from Alabama. So shout out to all of you guys who live in these states. And before I read this, did you guys know? And I'm not trying to be belittling. Maybe there's one person in here who doesn't know this. Did you know your attorney generals of your state are actually elected officials? You can actually vote on them. I hope you guys know that, because it actually matters. So all these people, if you hear this from their state, Frederick, did I miss your super chat? Where is it at here? Somebody popped up a super chat. I hate to miss it, because if you guys are generous enough to leave a donation, I definitely want to see it. There you go. I'll read that in 1 second, man. Attorney General, that's an elected position in your state. So you guys do what you want. If I were you and you live in one of these states, call your Attorney General office Monday. Write him an email over the weekend and say, thank you for signing on to this amicus brief for the bump stocks case. I'll leave a link to this. I'll put a link to this down in the description after it's done, guys. Right here. You can reference this and say, I would like to thank you for standing up for the Second Amendment and for signing on to this, because they have to know that people are supporting them. Because I guarantee you, Moms Demand and all these other organizations are bombarding all these attorneys general, telling them, you're terrible, you're a tyrant, you have blood on your hands, and all. Trust me. So you got to come back and thank them when they do something right. If your attorney general isn't on here, you might want to write them a little note, phone call, whatever, to their office, and let them know. Say, nope, you didn't support this. You're not supporting the Second Amendment. I'll take that into account when I vote. You're fired. We'll make sure you don't get reelected. However you want to word it, use your own words, right? So these are the ones that, if I were you, you should be praising, because trust me, the other side's condemning them. And if your state's not on this list, you might want to make phone calls to the opposite effect. You guys know what I'm saying. So here they are. Attorneys General from, these are the good ones that actually joined on, and they're supporting defeating this bump stock ban, which, by the way, if they defeat this, in my opinion, illegal application of Chevron deference, this could literally blow the whole frames and receivers redefinition out of the water, the whole braces. Like, there's like literally anything you can think of right now with all this craziness, with the ATF hinges upon this case. This is how important this is. And here are the states that are on the good side of it right now. Your attorney general in Alabama, right on, Arkansas, Arizona, Idaho, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Montana, Nebraska, Ohio, South Carolina, South Dakota, Texas, Utah, West Virginia, and Wyoming. So all of you guys that live in those states, shout out to you guys. Shout out to your attorney general. All the rest of us, there's many more attorney generals that did not sign on to this than did. Might be time to give them that call. Say, you know what? You don't stand up for the Second Amendment, you're fired. You're not going to get my vote. I'm going to make sure all my friends are informed too, because that's actually what they care about, is getting reelected. Frederick, 1483. Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate it. And this is a quote, it looks like. He says, I warn you, gentlemen, if you do not exclude the Jew forever, your children's children will curse you in your grave. Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin, one of the most quoted people of all time, right? Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate it. Yeah, some of you guys right now are saying your states are in there. Yeah. What's happening, Dale? How you doing, man? Ours is a demon rat. Yeah, ours is the one that said if you fundraise at all for any type of audits of any election, she'll have you arrested. What? So there's been allegations made. Some people don't believe certain things, right? Right, Susan? According to the Associated Press and according to YouTube, it's all on the up and up. The most popular of all time. You guys remember that rally? 12 of them stood there. 12 of them stood there in a circle. 36 feet apart. Half for media. Literally, look it up. Half for media. And he said, I'll mobilize an effective strategy to shoot an inanimate as an oppressor. Most popular of all time, obviously, Susan. But there's other people that said, a poll said actually more than half the people in this country, they have some questions, right, Susan? Allegedly, some people have some questions. And then the Attorney General of Michigan, she's a real beauty, by the way. They call her Dana Nessel and many, many other things. Dana Nessel, they call her. When I say she's a real beauty, I mean like in a totally different kind of way. She said, you look into anything. You look into anything with this election, we'll have you arrested. Jeez, lock you up and throw away the key. Right, Susan? Jeez, oh, Pete. Literally. That's right. It was published by Time Magazine. The most fortified election, Daniel says. Right, Susan? I think that's good speak. The most fortified election of all time. She said if anyone were to even try to fundraise or consider looking into it, even a teeny bit, into the gallows with you. Yeah, that's the Attorney General in the state of Michigan. Don't question it. Don't even think about questioning it, right? Now let's go over here. Speaking of GOA, makes me think of my friend John Crump of Ammo Land, of GOA, of Black Swan Tactical, and Black Swan Media. And actually, there's a project I'm working on with Black Swan Media that we are going to announce very soon when I have it up and going. But for now, I'm over on Locals, guys. They don't have any gun policies. Like, literally. Right now, I'm still a little small over there. Once we get some more members, some more supporters, they're going to let me stream, and then I'm going to be able to do some crazy cool streams. I'm not going off YouTube, but let's face it. They took my stream down a week and a half ago for literally not violating any rules at all. So one day, I could just be gone, but hopefully not, because I really like hanging out with you guys here. But we're over on Locals, 2aedu.locals.com, right? And there is, like I said, if you guys can't be a paid supporter over there, there is still ways you can help the channel so we can get her done and get more content. There's links and stuff that I can't talk about on here. And then if you click on it, helps the channel. Doesn't cost you nothing. Stuff like that. Isn't that sad? There's literally things I can't even say the name of the site on here. Or they'll say 2aedu is promoting bleepity bleep bleep blank blank Shubidanomination of pressure, they'll say, right? Yeah, there you go. Daniel says the most fortified election of all time, if you even think about it. But speaking of John Crump, let's look at an article here that he did from Ammo Land. And this is kind of interesting. I don't know. Maybe I'll screen share it. Let me see here, guys. What have we got going on? Is it Bacon's birthday? Happy birthday, Bacon, if it is. Speaking of which, I don't know if he's here tonight, but we've had a couple friends, you know, that have caught this, whatever it's called. We'll just call it the plague because there's certain things. Look, the plague, right, Susan? Wiki. There's some people that caught the plague. Joe Piketty, he was in the hospital for quite a while. He was back in here this last week saying he was doing good. We have another friend of the channel that's taking part in a lot of our chats, and I'm hoping I'll see him in here tonight. If not, man, God bless you. His name's Gray Man, and he's caught the plague, and he's in a hard way right now. You know, just slowly but surely, it kind of had him deteriorated down to where he was having a tough time. But he's a pretty tough dude. Like I said before, remember when Joe Piketty caught it, I said, nah, he's going to be all right, guys. It's hitting him hard. He's hitting him hard. He's going to have to fight like hell. Well, same thing with Gray Man right now. It's hitting him really hard. He's in a tough way, but he's a tough dude too, and he's got this. So keep him in your prayers, guys. He goes by Gray Man on here. Trust me, you know how it goes. If you're of the praying type, you're the type that sends out good vibes, whatever it is that you believe, you know, is the omnipresent, they'll know who you mean. If you just say gray man, they'll know. I don't like to dox people on here and give their real name out, but yeah, man. He's having a real hard time right now, but he's a tough dude. He'll be all right. So let's definitely keep Gray Man, who's been a good, you know, friend of the channel here, and all of you guys. Let's keep him in our prayers. Miss T Crane Neham, what's happening? Thank you, #1 fan. I still haven't figured it out. How's it going? Nice to see you. I told you guys, good-looking women in here, tough dudes. They're fighting off the plague. We'll be all right, guys. We'll be all right, but we definitely need to keep people in our prayers and thoughts and support each other. Smash Time, what's happening, man? How you doing, dude? Nice to see you. He's another one out there. He's fighting. Susan wasn't happy with him. Let me see if they got me yet, Smash Time. He had another pretty cool dude on there, gun drummer, right? And all of a sudden he showed, Susan said, this one's not suitable. It's not suitable. Huh. Mine's still okay right now, Smash. 262 likes. Awesome, guys. Thank you. And look, if you like the stream, give it a thumbs up. If not, just give it a thumbs up, and it's the equivalency of giving her a thumbs down. I realized why this stream is going so good right now, Smash Time. Here's the secret, okay? Here's the secret to why they haven't nuked it or restricted it yet. I said, as reported by the Associated Press and Susan Wiki of YouTube, the most popular campaign of all time, 12 people there. Remember that in the little circles? 12 people there. Wife, daughter, sniff, sniff. And I also gave the proper sources and said, I believe it was Time Magazine, right, Susan? The most fortified of all time. Oh, man, what the heck? I wish there was 200 of you guys as supporters over on Locals right now. We'd be talking about all kinds of stuff. Trust me, man. So we've got KCI. They're a magazine company of South Korea. KCI USA is where they import it. And now we've got a gun control group wanting to sue them. Yeah, literally, which is like totally insane. Freedom Mink, what's happening, man? How you doing? He says, did you see where the cops murdered Sean Rowe in Mansfield, Ohio on the 4th? I have not seen that. I know you're an Ohio man, of Ohio, in Ohio. I don't know exactly where you're at, but, you know, I do not know about that. Sounds like something I should look into. I've had a pretty rough go, dude, lately, as far as just record-setting rain for the last month and a half. Then my zero-turn mower, which is one of my main horses to feed my family with, broke down. It was complicated. I've been, yeah, barely able to put together the show notes for tonight, but I will look into that, dude. And I'm sure you're all over it, especially being in Ohio. I hope you're doing good, man. Luke himself, I hope you're doing good. How you doing, buddy? So this is crazy, guys. And literally, I got this. I was out cutting grass earlier, and I get a message from John Crump, and he put out this article, Brady Organization. You guys familiar with them? These are real beauties, too, but in a different kind of way. Like when we say the Attorney General Dana Nessel of Michigan is a real beauty. These are real beauties, too. Sues KCI and KCI USA over 100-round drum magazine. What? Yeah. I don't know what's more absurd, this or the Mexican government suing these large United States companies for Mexico's problems. So we're going to talk about this for a minute. There's a couple things in here. You guys want to talk about FUDs for a second? Oh my gosh, I just said FUD. I had no thumbs downs on this stream tonight, and I just said FUD. But I would note FUDs before the FUDs come in here and dink it. FUDs, I did say the most fortified of all time. The most popular and the most fortified of all time. We're going to get to the most FUD statement that's probably ever been said. Let me see if I can share this. Give me a second, guys. I'm going to try to share this screen just for some of you younger folks. Some of the younger folks and the people that went to the public schools. Now, before you think I'm being hoity-toity, look, K through 12 public school, guys, then community college. But for those of us that went to the public schools or those young bucks out there, we're going to briefly go over the most FUD within the quote gun community of all time. Smash Time 762. Thanks for the super chat, man. Everyone, please buy some props. I agree. You know, you got to have food, guys. You got to have water. Look, it may have been the most fortified of all time, allegedly, according to the Associated Press, but you've got a man standing up there right now saying, I don't care what the Supreme Court says. Congress, who needs them? Look, we've had good times in this country. Now, bad times for a lot of people too, but apparently, colloquially, we've apparently had too good of times where people have had too much to eat and too much to drink. Because as that saying goes, good times make weak men, don't they? It seems like people have gotten pretty darn weak. And unfortunately, once we have weak men, we usually end up upon bad times, don't we? And so the cycle goes and perpetuates. Don't take it for granted, guys. Do what you have to do. Be smart. You know, you're all very smart people. You know, all of you that have beautiful little kids, you got to take care of your kids first. Like you'd give your kids your last bottle of water as you lay down to die. I know you guys would do that. But no, you got to take care of your kids, take care of yourselves, because there's some crazy stuff going on right now. That's good advice, Smash Time. They said it was the most fortified of all time, is what Susan Wiki, they said. NewsGuard approved. The most fortified there ever was. There was 12 people in the crowd. Do you guys remember that? I seriously, just think about this. When we're thinking about this man standing up there saying, yeah, the Supreme Court shot it down. It's probably illegal anyways, and I'm probably going to do this. Right? So he says, I don't care about the Supreme Court. I don't care about Congress. Remember, he was up there. His most popular rally he had, there was 12 people, and they were in little circles. Ugh. So they're suing again. Let me share this screen. Hold on a minute. Let me figure out how to do this. I'm not good at doing there we go. I'm not a whiz bang with this software on the fly, but I'll figure it out here. Where's it at? Brady Organization sues KCI. All right, what's that look like on there? Cool. He's hunting rabbits with a ghost gun. Yeah, you guys are about to see one of the most FUD statements of all time, unfortunately. Bill Ruger. Do you remember that? Do you guys remember Bill Ruger? Let's look at this, guys. This is crazy. Like, I kind of want to laugh, except for you can't laugh at this. These people are dead serious. These moms demand attention. They demand action. They demand. And now you've got Brady. I mean, these people are serious. They want all the guns gone. Like, literally all of them. Now, apparently, magazines. Out of Las Vegas, Nevada, AmmoLand. The anti-gun Brady Organization is funding a Nevada lawsuit against the Korean company Kyung Chang Industry Co. Ltd. KCI USA. This is a Korean company, South Korea. Okay. This is written by John Crump. The lawsuit stems from an August 2019 mass murder that took place in Dayton, Ohio. In the mass murder, a far leftist killer murdered 9 people and injured 17 others before being killed by police. Okay. The killer used a KCI magazine and an AR-15 style pistol. Since the magazine held more than 10 rounds, the families claimed that it made the shooter deadlier, and KCI USA was negligent for selling the magazines. Whoa, wait a minute. So somebody gets in a Ford van and mows down a bunch of people on the street, and now Ford is negligent because they had a 5,000-pound projectile that's capable of going 100 miles an hour and killing just as many people. Let's just face it, more people, even easier and quicker than even an expert gunman could. We have to think about these things because that's how preposterous this is. This is literally their claim. It made the shooter deadlier, and therefore this magazine company was negligent for selling the magazines. What? This is an excellent point you bring up, Curtis. And I'm going to pin that. And are you kidding me, man? Thanks for being so generous, dude. Wow. That's all right. Everyone else thank Curtis, because that just means we're going to have either some more ammo for some range shooting or another gun on the channel, because you guys will all benefit too. So make sure you guys thank Curtis. And that's an awesome question. And I'm going to go over my thoughts on it. I don't want to say answer it because I don't have answers, guys. Look, I'm not George Washington. I don't have answers, but I have some thoughts about it, and I'm sure you guys have some thoughts on it too. But let's go through this KCI thing. Are you guys ready for the FUD statement of the century? The lawsuit starts by quoting Bill Ruger. That's the founder of Ruger. Just give me a second to shake my head, guys. The lawsuit starts by quoting Bill Ruger's infamous statement that, quote, no honest man needs more than 10 rounds, and that he, quote, never intended for simple civilians to have his 20 or 30 round magazines. That's supposedly, huge air quotes for those of you listening, huge air quotes. That's supposed to be one of us. That's of the gun community, right? Ruger, Bill Ruger, the founder of the Ruger Company. Now they're quoting him in this lawsuit. Quote, no honest man needs more than 10 rounds. Quote, never intended for simple civilians to have his 20 or 30 round magazines. Simple civilians. Wow. Now, look, guys, in full disclosure, and I want to read this because he does put this in the article. You guys can make up your mind on all this. Bill Ruger did retire from the company he helped found in 2000. Since that time, Sturm, Ruger, and Company have continued to produce AR-15s and market 30-round magazines to the public, splitting from the ideas of Bill Ruger. So he's been gone from the company for over 20 years. They now promote these high cap mags. Some people would say that means you probably shouldn't hold it against Ruger anymore because he's gone and they've corrected their ways. Now there's some of you right now saying no. After that kind of FUD crap, never again. You guys are probably saying both in the chat, and I'm not going to sway you which way. But this is a perfect example of when these so-called gun community people come out and they say stuff, and it has ramifications, and they're literally using this as the headline or the punchline in their article. According to one of the greatest modern firearms inventors, you know, is how they're framing this. That's me paraphrasing, but this is Bill Ruger himself, the prominent, the late great. You know how they're going to play it up here, these Brady people. He even said that common plebes shouldn't have this, and that no honest man would ever need it. The target of the lawsuit is KCI for producing and selling a 100-round magazine. The plaintiff's lawyers argue these magazines do not have a legit purpose for hunting or self-defense. Where does it say hunting in the Second Amendment? I just have to state the obvious. Where does it say hunting even once? Where does it actually even say self-defense? Now, obviously, you have the right to defend yourself. No, it says it's necessary for the security of a free state. That's what it says. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, because look, it was implied you could hunt back then because they didn't have grocery stores like we do now. If you didn't hunt, you didn't eat. Look, they didn't enumerate. They didn't prohibit the government from treading on a natural God-given right. Laws of nature, of nature's God. That's what the Declaration says. They didn't put that down for hunting. But they're suing, saying it has no hunting or self-defense purpose, and they're saying out of the 1 million magazines sold that hold more than 10 rounds, only a fraction have been used in crimes. Okay, obviously. But they're still suing anyways. And this article goes on, and I'm going to link it, and you guys should read it just so you know where we're at right now. Like, we're actually in an age where people are suing a magazine company because they're now to be held liable for the negligence. I mean, it's literally insane. It makes no sense whatsoever. Constitutionally, it makes no sense. It makes no sense for the Lawful Production in Arms Act, and it just makes no sense for any common thing. Like, I'm not like precluding the Second Amendment. Let's just for 1 second play devil's advocate and remove the Second Amendment from the equation. We can't remove it because it's highly pertinent, but just humor me, guys. That would literally be like, okay, somebody throws somebody through a window in a bar fight, and now they're going to sue the window manufacturer because somebody got hurt from the glass because somebody threw them through it? It just doesn't make any sense. Or a vehicle's used as a weapon, because they often are. Look, these are inanimate objects. A magazine is neither good nor is it evil. It just doesn't have feelings. It's just a piece of metal and or plastic or windings or whatever. It's the person, right? Look, more people are killed with hands and feet than what they call, quote, AWs or ARs. They'll call them assault rifles, all these demonic terms they make up. More people were killed with hands and feet in this country in the average year than with that. So that obviously shows that these inanimate objects, they're going to blame an object for something that's going on in people's minds, for people that have morals, lack of morality, whatever you want to call it. When I say morality, I'm not assigning a specific religion to that. I'm just saying people that clearly don't know right from wrong, don't care about right from wrong, whatever you want to call it. And they're now going to sue a magazine manufacturer for that? What's more insane? I don't know. The former vice president saying, who cares what SCOTUS says? Okay, Curtis Reynolds, thank you again for that super generous super chat, man. I'm not changing the topic. All of this tonight, at least in my opinion, this is all very closely related and intertwined. This is all just stuff that makes no sense whatsoever. Curtis says, I wonder, what's the recourse if a president ignores a SCOTUS ruling? And I don't know, because here's the interesting part. SCOTUS can say all they want. They can say, we remand our decision. They can. But at the end of the day, remember Chairman Mao, like I said, he said, look, evil man. I'm not even saying he was smart, but he was right when he said all political power comes from the barrel of a gun. That's why they wrote the Third Amendment, because you had basically soldiers that were acting like police at the time. These policemen soldiers were coming in people's homes, taking over people's dwellings, their wife, their food, pillaging. Look, they had the guns. All political power comes from the barrel of a gun. And even this rent moratorium, right? What's going to happen? Okay, fine. You kick somebody out. You kick a soldier out of your home that you're running, that the government's quartering in it, and you say, leave. Okay, fine. Then the CDC comes in, issues you a fine, imprisons you for up to a year. This is all the threats that they're threatening you with, right? If you violate this rent moratorium. Well, if you just sit there and say, I'm going to ignore you, screw you, they're going to send someone to a gun, some type of, in this case, I don't know if you call him policeman or federal agent, whatever. They're going to send a government man with a gun to your home. And he's going to say, you're under arrest, comply, if you're lucky. And he might let you, lay down on the ground. But if you get buck with him and try to fight back and say, you won't take me, this is my home, and you fight with whatever you've got, I'm not holding anything, Susan. He's going to pull that gun on you, and he's going to use that on you. And if he draws his before you draw yours, as the old saying goes, yeah. So with that said, the Supreme Court can tell him all they want. Does the Supreme Court have guns? I mean, I literally mean that. I'm not even being sarcastic, guys. Is there like an armed division of the Supreme Court? I don't know. I know the president, or in this case, the former vice president, right? Most popular of all time, Susan Wiki, as reported by the Associated Press, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Services. I don't know, man. And I hope there's a lively discussion in the chat about this, because I've been thinking about this. And I think you were just trying to start a lively conversation, which we should all be thinking about. I don't know what happens when you have these supposed separate but co-equal branches of government, or at least separate, because there was some arguments at the very founding. You had Jefferson, you had Madison talking about that the Supreme Court was originally supposed to be an inferior, but yet Congress does make law. Look, that's a whole other tangent, guys, but think about it. What happens if one branch of the government says this, the other separate branch comes in and says no? Who ultimately wins? I don't know. I have no idea. Do they pull theirs and then they draw theirs? And do the Supreme Court even have armed men? Because I don't think that just somebody like sitting there, a whole like dais of people that are all sitting up there, I don't think that like just with their black robes, they're going to be able to stop like a battalion or a regiment of troops. Now, I'm not saying, guys, that that Biden or anyone's threatening with troops. This is all hypothetical, Susan Wiki, but I don't know. I don't know what happens, Curtis. How far down the line do you go with it? Supreme Court says, do this. And he says, no. And they say, no, you have to. And he says, come get some. Come make me do it. Make me do it, right? Freedom Inc. said, let's sue Budweiser. Well, I mean, I guarantee you there's stats that you could look through. Let's sue Tide. Probably a lot more people have died from Tide Pods and Budweiser this year. And some of you guys are having a brew right now, and that's totally up to you guys. Look, you have a beer and you tread on my rights by killing me in a drunk driving? No. You're having a brew watching the stream sitting in your house. I could care less if you're eating a Tide Pod right now. Who cares, right? Who cares what you're doing with your KCI magazine? You don't have the right to murder people with it, though. Just sue everybody. Everything there is has killed somebody before, because apparently now inanimate objects must kill people if you're suing manufacturers. This is crazy, guys. I don't know. Mike McClune with the super chat. Thanks a lot, man. 1911. That's 1911 fans in the house tonight. Thanks, man. He says laws only restrict honest people. Here's to all. The FFOA out here tonight. Yeah, the future felons of America. We just put that out there because so many people run around and say, I'm a law-abiding gun owner, okay? I don't want to digress too much, but I've talked about this before. The Second Amendment doesn't say the right of the law-abiding people to keep and bear arms, the right of the people without a criminal. It doesn't say that at all, actually. It just says the people, period, end of story. But for everyone that's running around saying, I'm a law-abiding gun owner, that FFOA is just a little public service announcement. You can get that stuff at Black Swan Tactical, guys. There's a shirt, a couple patches. Shout out to Toxic Patch Co. if you're out there tonight watching Zach Carr. Look, they're trying to make 20, 30 million, 40 million of you law-abiding gun owners, felons, literally overnight. A lot of people won't even know that. How you guys decide is up to you, but you should at least know. You know what I mean? These things are good to know, aren't they? Smash time with the super chat. Thanks a lot, man. Ha, beat you, Mike. LOL. What's happening, man? Thank you. Another generous super chat. I really appreciate it, guys. I do. Smash time. Shout out to his channel, guys. Did you guys like it when I was over there? He invited me to be on his channel a while back. We had met in person down south, and I said, yeah, dude, we'll hang out. I've been lucky enough to meet a lot of you guys in person. It's pretty cool. All over the place. Michigan, down south. Shout out to the Smash Time channel, though, for real. Hotel Joe just became a YouTube member. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Nice looking dude. Got some patches there. Stogie, American flag. Lots of good looking people hanging out in the chat tonight. Seriously, look around, guys. The Reptile guys. What's happening, dude? How you doing? I just wanted to make sure one of these didn't skip. If I ever had one that skipped, I would feel so bad, guys. Sometimes Susan skips when I say it was the most fortified of all time. Then that kind of brings me back in good standing a little bit, you know, just so we realize how fortified. Give me a break. The Reptile guys with a super chat and a channel member. Thanks, dude. I think we should go seize all American guns that have made it to Mexico and deal with the cartel problem that they obviously can't. I know. I put out that video. I'm like, is that even legal? No, I'm not a lawyer. Susan Wiki, no legal advice. This is all just my personal opinion, really. I'm not really qualified at anything. See, you guys, they call her Susan Wiki. She runs YouTube, if you guys didn't know that. I bought her flowers again this week, if you guys were wondering. I mean, go check out my locals community, guys. There's a lot of stuff I can't say on here that I look forward to saying over there soon. But for now, we'll say the most fortified of all time, according to Attorney General Nussel and the Associated Press. Yeah, Mexico. Can they even do that, guys, legally? How can Mexico sue private gun manufacturers in the U.S.? Well, if they can sue the government, why didn't they sue the Obama holder? And look, when the former vice president was the vice president Biden, the Biden-Obama holder administration, Operation Fast and Furious, where they purposely ran those guns across the border. To try to see how many murders they would be used in. Because remember, inanimate objects kill people, right? That's what the new trend seems to be in these lawsuits. Big air quotes for those of you that aren't watching me right now. Hugest air quotes you've ever seen. These inanimate objects that just have a mind of their own. The magazine just got up off the table. It loaded itself. Have you guys ever loaded one of them 100-round drum mags? They're insane to even load, but it loaded itself. It walked down the street. And no, but the federal government did come up with a scheme where they were purposely putting as many guns as possible across the border in the hands of the drug cartels. Look, they were trying to use that to come up with the stats they needed to win in the court of public opinion, as they call it. They tried to do this that long ago, and it's just now coming to fruition. I believe this is all part of it. This whole Mexico lawsuit suing gun makers, this whole out of the blue during the same week, I wanted to say Moms Demand, Brady organization. Look, I get them confused because they're all just different heads off of the same Hydra. I mean, they're whatever. These are real beauties, trust me. These are draconian censorship people out there, period. It's not just the guns they're after. They're after you. They just need to take the guns away because that's an obstacle, right? That's something where we can actually protect ourselves. They don't want the gun control. They want to control you. They just need to get the guns out of there first. Don't forget that. But all of a sudden, I don't know, guys. It's just too much of a coincidence. Suing a magazine manufacturer the same week that Mexico's suing these gun makers. Fast and Furious. I mean, no, they're playing the long game. They're truly, truly playing the long game, guys. And they literally wanted to get, for whatever political agenda, they wanted to get as many guns on the streets. I'm trying to use their terminology. Guns on the streets, as they call them, right? This has all been part of their plan for a very, very long time. I mean, shoot, I've showed you guys this before. Speaking of taking care of yourselves, all right? Zimbabwe, you guys ever seen one of these? $10 billion. I mean, this can happen. This has happened before. $10 billion. Yeah, I bought it as a novelty. Now, this isn't fake money. This is real money, okay? Real. Like, no longer is it worth any money. But this was actually printed for the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. And they had such hyperinflation that it got to the point where you needed this $10 billion to buy a loaf of bread. And then they had $100 billion notes. Yeah, it's true. The natural resources, the industrious miner, right? Utilitarian, just working for the common good. They would say the ends justify the means, right? Yeah, it's important to remember this. I promised to pay the bearer on demand $10 billion for the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. You guys are like, oh, well, come on, 280. That was hundreds of years ago. No, actually, this was printed in 2008. And in Venezuela, they once had a higher per capita than like any country in the world. Rich in natural resources, wealthy people went the way of communism, and now they're eating their pets and eating out of the backs of garbage trucks. And when I talk the long game, like in my opinion, this whole Fast and Furious, this Mexico lawsuit, this KCI, I mean, look, guys, you guys are all smart people. You'll decide for yourself, and I want you to, but just think about it. I at least want you to think about it. Is this coincidence? I don't know. I've showed you guys this before. Look, this is called, let me see if I can, it's kind of shiny there. There we go. This is the first Soviet currency right here. And these are real. These are not replicas. I have these because we need to remember this and we need to talk about this because evil will always prevail when good men do nothing. And it says the Bolsheviks took control. Talk about long game. Listen to this date I'm about to tell you. The Bolsheviks took control of Russia during the October Revolution of 1917, establishing the Russian Socialist Federated Soviet Republic, a precursor to the USSR. This undersized note was among the first issues of the new communist government. This has been going on a long time. It's still alive and well today. That hammer, that sickle. Look at that. Wheat plentiful. See the wheat, the plentiful wheat, the industrious hammer, the ends justify the means, work for the common good. But what they don't want to tell you, what they don't want to tell you is under Stalin. They call it Stalinism, Leninism, Lenin, Stalin. All the way up through, even today, tens of millions of people killed, gone. Didn't I just say that about China earlier? Well, yeah, because that's what communism does, and it always has done. Curtis Reynolds, another super chat? Thanks, dude. I really appreciate it, man. You're being super generous tonight, dude. Guys, thank Curtis. Like I said, more content for you guys. I'm out there struggling. It's been a struggle lately, but I'm feeding my family, cutting grass, guys. But we can have a lot more fun. Thank you, Curtis. He said, I guess it would be U.S. Marshals. They fall under the judicial branch. Okay, good. Maybe. I don't know. Do we live in a day? Do we live in a day where is it going to be marshals? I don't know. Well, what happens? Doesn't the president have a special unit of Marines that's encamped real close to the White House where they're kind of like pretty much at his beck and call? Refresh my memory. Mateo, whoever else is out there. Gosh, there's got to be some more I know there's some specific Marine Corps veterans. What's the name of that? There's a large group. I don't want to get it wrong, guys. I'm not a veteran, but I think you guys know who I'm talking about. They're right there by the White House. Is it a regiment? Is it a division? It's a large number of men. What happens? Does SCOTUS send the marshals and say, here, we're marshals, and they've got guns. President, you have to listen to us, you know, as Uncle Joe did. The most popular Fortified of all time, Susan Wiki. Did the marshals show up and then the president calls on that? I know you guys are going to have my back in the chat here. Marine Corps group. Isn't that who they are? They're at the ready. They're right there. Yeah. True. Somebody said, and I'm trying to see where it came from. Freedom Mink. He said, no, you'll be criminals. You don't just get the badge of felon. You have to be charged, jailed, and then cop out. And yes, you will plea out, and then you can be a felon. Okay, you're right. But hey, it all starts there, though. If you have something that's deemed a felonious crime to possess, you could lead down the road to become a felon through there, right? I mean, you're technically right, but I think you knew what I meant. It's just kind of a quick little one-liner, and it's just to remind people that, look, and I've watched enough of your stuff. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think you'd agree with me, Freedom, that, look, we hear this a lot, don't we? Me as the law-abiding gun owner, hereby, therefore, thereto. People start a lot of their statements that way, and they wear that with the badge of honor, the law-abiding gun owner. It's just to remind people that, hey, look, they're going right now to where something that's mainstream, something that they say 10, 20, now the newest numbers, 40 million people own. You could potentially become a felon, charged, convicted, and or plea bargain, however it exactly works. It's just a stark reminder to people that whole just sitting back saying, well, I'm this, I'm law-abiding, I'm that. They're not content with that anymore, it appears. How would that work, though? The U.S., I don't know what happens, guys. I don't know. This Third Amendment lawsuit case is pretty darn interesting. Never made it before SCOTUS before. We'll see how that shakes out. There's a lot going on right now. I've been on here 2 hours. Let me catch up on the chat. Jeez. I better get off here. I literally thought I was on here for like an hour. And I'm like, I guess I'll just read some questions. Wow. I guess I've been having fun tonight. You guys are awesome. Landshark Productions, channel member in a super chat. Thanks a lot, man. He said, I have a self-loading phase plasma rifle. LOL. Hey, man. Right now, self-loading phase plasma rifle. Did you get your tax stamp for that? Make sure you man up and get your tax stamp. That's what that one prominent gun trainer said. Jeez, man. Is Guero M in the house? What's happening, Guero M? How you doing, man? Nice to see you, dude. I'm trying to see some of you good people in here. Because this is what happens. I go ahead and I read it on a Saturday or Sunday, and I'm like, dude, I didn't say hi to so-and-so. Dang it. Where you at, A-Dubs? I forgot to say hi to you last week. What's happening, man? Band Talk. Also an excellent channel, guys. He'll be streaming tonight at like 1 a.m. Eastern time. For those of you that are late nighters, or I don't want to say bored, just people that are up, Some of you that's drinking your Budweiser, that's not drinking and driving, maybe go over there. Zimbabwe 100 trillion note is the highest denomination note ever. There you go. And I know Band Talk collects that. Go check his channel out, guys. He does a stream a couple times a week. I could only afford the 10 billion. This was like $5 on eBay, guys. I think the $100 trillion note, I think that was worth a crap load of money. I just bought this for the channel, and I've been holding it up off and on for the last couple of years. This isn't a collectible one, guys. Look, there was like this. I bought it as a coffee stain. I think it was like $3 plus $2 shipping. So it was just worth it to me. It was worth that just as a conversation piece. $100 trillion note. Yeah, I didn't have the money to afford one of those. I think the 100 trillion was like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. That one's rare. But it's literally crazy, guys. This stuff, all this keeps repeating itself over and over again. You know what I mean? Crazy stuff. Luke himself, what are you doing in there, man? Talking some guns? He's a good guy. I like him. Ting Ting, speaking of beautiful women, she had something to say about Tiananmen Square, didn't you? I'm sure she did. I'll go back and check. I'm just guessing you did. When I said Tiananmen Square, she might know about that. Trey Patterson with a super chat. Thanks a lot, man. United States Air Force. What's up, dude? He says, support your family and defend your values, brother. Well, thanks a lot, man. Look, we all need to defend our values, and I need you guys' encouragement. Trust me, I do, because it's, we've always got our problems just day to day, but now I've got to worry about things like, will my daughter be able to breathe at school? Will she be able to breathe? I mean, self-esteem, all these things, because mental health is health, guys. And we've had all this going on. Look, the 15 days they call it, 15 days to slow the spread is now 509 days. And that's been weighing heavy on a lot of people, isn't it? A lot of you guys, for many, many reasons. Some of you are our friend Gray Man, you know, it's hitting pretty hard. He's not in the best way right now, but he's tough. He's going to pull out of it. Joe Piketty was in the hospital for an extended period of time. So this plague's hit some of us literally, like physically. Other people, it's hit in other ways. And look, I'm not going to be the arbiter of what's worse and better. I mean, there's one person right now laying there dying of pneumonia, clinging on, that needs grace to come back. There's another person sitting there staring at a 10-story window and thinking about something. It's called mental health. It's real health. And I don't know which one's worth, but we've been dealing with a lot of stuff, haven't we? The last year and a half. I know all of you guys have been. People that have lost their jobs, people that have businesses that it was illegal to work. Just stuff that you kind of knew about if you would have really thought about it. You should have seen it coming, but you didn't want to, and I didn't want to, and I get it, guys. But you just woke up and you're like, wow, stuff's happened in the last year and a half that I never, ever thought I'd see happen. But it's happening like right now. And that's not enough. Now they want to ban home-built firearms, and they want to come after braces and different. It's crazy. You have the Supreme Court smacking down an executive action saying you can't do it, it's over. You got to talk to Congress. Congress says we don't want to act. And then the most fortified of all time, you guys remember that rally? 12 people were there, the most popular ever, according to the Associated Press. And Susan Wiki just came in and said, I don't care. I'm going to do it anyways. It's probably not legal. I'm paraphrasing, in my opinion. It's probably not legal. It probably won't pass any kind of judicial muster, but I'll just do it anyways. He said he wanted to ban any 9mm firearm that can fire 20, 30, 40, 120 rounds, right? Is that what it was? 150 rounds. That's what he said. What he meant is any firearm that can accept larger than a 10-round mag. He didn't say he wanted to ban the mags. He said he wanted to ban the guns. Brady suing. The Brady group suing KCI for making a magazine that somebody used and did something bad with. That person didn't have the right to murder, but I'll tell you what, they have the right to make those mags, and people have the right to purchase them, trade them, however they acquire them. You don't have the right to murder. Other than that, you have the right to everything else associated with this magazine. Mexico, how Mexico has any kind of standing or right or whatever you want to call it. I don't mean right in the truest sense, just how Mexico has standing to sue U.S. gun manufacturers. I have no clue, but they're trying that now. They're trying to put someone that works for the CCP, the official CCP, the Communist China Party, they call it, right? Works for their TV station, allegedly. Susan, allegedly. It's pretty crazy, isn't it? But what does it mean? I'm going to ask this question one more time, guys, before I sign off, because I've had such a good time tonight. Time's really flown by. What does it mean? Because it's one of the two, or maybe it's somewhere in the middle, and you guys chime in. This is something where you guys can disagree all you want, but I don't know that there's one answer to it. I'm not going to answer it for you, but I want to ask this question. The fact that they're literally throwing everything at the kitchen sink, it appears that they're desperately just flailing right now, okay? They're flailing. Is it because, and it's one or the other, or maybe somewhere in the middle, but let's just say there's two general thoughts on this, and I want you guys to answer this, okay? Is it because they're winning, and they've just got us so defeated that we're just a dead man walking and this republic's over, and the people are just so weak, they're just coming through with that final pass of the bulldozer. In the landscaping world, we call this the finish grade. There's the rough grade for those of you that build houses. Then you come in and do the finish grade. Then you do your sod or your seed. Are they just putting the finish grade on us and we're over? And and that's why they're just bombarding us with everything? Or, and this is what I'm hoping it is, or we are actually winning, and people are a lot tougher than what they give us credit for. And we might have a slightly different fight, but basically we might have the same type of fight going on as they did around 1775, 1776. And maybe we actually are kind of winning. Because remember, guys, when the government fears the people, there's liberty. But when people fear the government, there's tyranny. Do they actually see us winning? Do they realize there's 100 million of us? And even if 3/4 are FUDs and the other 24% don't care, maybe they finally realize that there's even 1% of us, they better watch it. So what is it, guys? Have we already lost? So that's why they're just throwing the kitchen sink at us? Or are we actually winning? And we need to keep fighting like hell to save this republic. And that's why they're throwing everything and flailing wildly as their last-ditch effort. I don't know. I want you guys to think about it. And you don't have to answer it in this chat. This is a public forum. Whatever you want to put in, guys, publicly, you can. But at least I want you to think about it and maybe talk to your friends about it a little bit, because there might be a couple hundred people watching here tonight. But if all of you know one person, that's 400. And you might just be a grain of sand. But eventually, if you pile enough grains of sand on top of each other, it becomes a little pile, doesn't it? And if you pile enough piles on top of itself, it becomes a mountain. And man, I don't want to think that they're just bringing the bulldozer in doing the finish grade, because I don't know. I'm really lucky that I've got the opportunity to every night, a couple hundred at a time, thousands of people throughout the last couple years doing this channel. I've got to meet a lot of really good people that are really, really encouraging me. So you guys let me know what you think. Don't type it in here if you don't want. Keep your thoughts to yourself or publicly. That's your right. But just think about it and at least talk to somebody about it. Where are we at here, guys? Are we winning? I'd like to think so. I see too many good people for me just to want to give up. But they're flailing wildly right now, guys. They're literally sitting there. They said, look, guys, this is the most popular. There were 12 people in there, right? There were 12 people in there. He said, I'll lead an effective strategy to human and pressure. What do you guys think about that? I mean, literally. I don't know. But I'm encouraged, and I hope all of you guys are too. There's some people right now that I know that aren't feeling so good, and they really need our support. If you're a praying type, if you're the type that sends out good vibes, whatever it is that you do, if you do it with all sincerity, there's a guy named Gray Man that hangs out in here. He's not feeling so good. Joe Pichetti, I know. These are guys that were literally put down on their back. The prognosis is not good, but they're tough, and I'm sure they'll both be all right. And they could certainly use you guys' encouragement. Tim Reuter with the super chat. Thanks a lot, man. Support to you, my brother. Well, thanks, man. And I hope you're getting some support too. There's many types of support. Rick Nieper, how you doing, man? Nice to see you. Guero says, prepare, have Jesus in your heart. That's all that matters. No weapon formed against shall prosper. There will come a point in time when even family and friends will turn on you. Hey, hopefully that encourages you guys. Like I said, you guys are free to have any religion you want or none whatsoever. I totally respect that. I'm very libertarian when it comes to that. But I have my faith, and I get a lot of encouragement from my creator. And I hope you guys are all encouraging each other too. I really do. There's going to be a lot of sheeple, right? The sheeple will never stop supporting the unconstitutional policies. Policing forces, which are the real issue. Hey, man, there's a lot of stuff going on. There is a lot of stuff going on. I don't know. You guys think about it. But, hey, there's a lot of good people in here. Alvin Davis, channel member. Thanks a lot, man. Lawsuits are nothing but death by 1,000 cuts. Yeah, I'm getting ready to sign off. I just wanted to say hi to a couple of you guys because they kind of scroll through so fast, and I miss half of them. Mooseman 684, what's happening, dude? Sovereign Mind 1969. 10 millimeter, my next purchase, like the High Point carbine. I have a couple of the 995s, the 9 mils. Not in my hands, Susan. Can you guys believe they took that stream down? Took it down midstream because I'm there. I'm literally there with somebody who's like an expert on the topic. I'm there with someone from GOA, and we're literally like, this is not a firearm. I'm not doing it right now, Susan. Hands up. Don't nuke. Don't nuke, Susan. Nice. Nice, Susan. Nice. Anyways, I'm like, this is not. And just poof. Gone. Threaded for my pleasure. What's happening, dude? Good Michigan guy there. What's up, man? Nice to see you for sure. Met him down in Monroe County. He doesn't even live in Monroe County. It's nice to go to these get-togethers people have. It is. I want to have a get-together. I don't know how to do it. Is there a place in Michigan? Where do you even go? I don't know. I'd love to have a get-together here in Michigan. Do you guys have any ideas for that? How would I do it? Because some people have property and shooting ranges in their backyard, but would you want, look, I'm not that big of a channel. What if 10, 15, 20 people showed up? Maybe people wouldn't necessarily want that on their private property because, like we've been talking about, lawsuits. But I don't really want to go to like a rigid shooting range where you go in there and it's like, I mean, we want to be safe, but I don't want it where there's the hardcore rules where like you can't like shoot a reactive target and you have to show clear with the flag every 30 seconds. And I don't know. What do you do? There's a way to do it and somebody knows how to do it. Let me know. There we go. Maybe a little channel get together. And that's why you guys should go over there. Look, if you want to support over there, that's great. If not, there's other ways you can help support the channel over on my locals. That's where I could make announcements for something like, hey guys, anyone around the Howell, Michigan area, Southeast Michigan, we're going to go potentially. I'll talk to him off camera to make sure, you know, maybe pillbox, you know, some of us want to meet up and just have a little shoot and a little campfire. You can't even really plan stuff like that on here, but that's where we can put little stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Lucius Maximus says we are winning. Awesome, dude. That's a nice looking avatar. I like that, man. Joseph, I'm mispronouncing your name, man. I'm not good with names. McCall, well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Can I just call you, is it Joe or Jose? I'm sorry, dude. I'll just stop. I'll stop while I'm not ahead. He says, enjoying your subject matter. Keep it coming, brother. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it, dude. Randy Smith, great idea. I'll come. Love to meet you. Something like that I think would be fun. It's not going to be like when Eric from Iraq Veteran has one and like hundreds of people show up. This is me, like a real small channel. So if there was 3 or 4 or 5 of us or 8 or something, that'd be pretty cool. You know what I'm saying? We get a hold of Rick Nieper, have him come for sure. Jane Locke, where's Jane Locke? Speaking of good-looking women, United States Air Force veteran, Vietnam era. Ron Wayne, thanks, man. Thanks for being a channel supporter, dude. All right, lots of good talk, guys. I'm probably boring you half to death, but if you don't mind me indulging, I'm just being selfish right now. I just want to say hi to you guys, see who's in here. I need to read some of these comments so I can go and battle these lawns and mulch job I have to do tomorrow. West Eli's got his. He thinks they've won. Well, I don't know. Like I said, it's a thought-provoking conversation. I'm not smart enough to answer it, unfortunately. I have a lot of thoughts on it, though. Chris Plummer, thank you, 2A. Well, thanks, man. Mateo, I hope you're doing good, man. He's been kind of predisposed with some family issues, we'll just say. DLD After Dark, didn't even see you in here till you said you had to go, so hopefully you're still here, and you have a good night, and shout out to you and your channel, man. You guys are keeping up the good fight over there, too. I know you are. Haven't had a chance to watch anyone's channels the last, really all summer, barely. But especially lately, I haven't been able to do crap, guys. Richard Mondo, great video tonight. Thanks, man. Awesome, dude. He's from, what, are you over in Great Britain, right across the pond? See, people know what's going on. Ronnie Thompson, what's happening, Ronnie Thompson? How you doing, man? Jeffer just got here, and I'm just getting off. All right, guys, I could go on and on. I love reading this. I'm going to read it later. And until then, you guys have an awesome night. I'll have a video or 2 out in the meantime. And I'll see you guys 9:30 Eastern time this next Friday, and every Friday. Go check out Locals. It's free to join. If you want some extra functionality, you can support or not. But just go over there and just at least check it out. Because as soon as I get some more time, and we're already posting cool stuff over there. And yeah, they don't have the rules and censorship that a lot of the other big tech platforms do. All right, guys. God bless all of you too. All right. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.